At the House of Assembly, I'm Lakush Lapinder. This is ZNS.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Met officials giving the latest on Hurricane Milton's path. Hear what you need to know. Also, residents hitting the stores today prepping for tropical storm conditions. And do you know which shelters are in your area? We've got you covered.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition start now. Of any type of activity that we are anticipating to get is our tropical storm status.
The Northern Bahamas remains on high alert with the tropical storm watch now in effect. Good evening, all. I'm Ramiko Knowles. Thanks for tuning in. And Hurricane Milton, one of the strongest storms ever recorded in the Atlantic Basin, is moving toward west central Florida. Residents are urged to brace for deteriorating weather conditions in the coming days. Raven Davis has tonight's top story.
With Hurricane Milton closing in, all eyes are on the Northern Bahamas, where a tropical storm watch has been issued by the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. Residents are now bracing for what could be a relatively rough few days ahead.
There's a likelihood of any type of activity that we are anticipating to get is our tropical storm status. So that's, winds roughly, like we said, winds about 35 knots or so, or 35 miles an hour in that range.
Meanwhile, Hurricane Milton has lightly weakened from a Cat 5 to a Category 4 hurricane and is expected to barrel down on Florida Wednesday, October 9th, which is when officials say weather conditions will begin to deteriorate on Grand Bahama.
What we have today is what we call just a lull between the two systems. We may feel a couple of shower activity and stuff like that lingering from that system we had yesterday, but for tomorrow, we're looking at winds start to gradually increase. And then for Wednesday night into Thursday, that's where we'll have mostly strong windy conditions and some out-of-band activity. As
for wind speeds, Tyne says they can range from 25 to 35 knots, with gusts reaching 40 to 45 miles per hour, particularly on Thursday. And as for October 9th,
we'll be expecting to see 15 to 20, 15 to 25, which is easy for us to handle. That's not a problem. But then when we get the high gusts, those stuff will start to move things around. And then also with the outer bands of the system, we are anticipating some outer bands to be moving through.
On Monday, schools across Abaco, Grand Bahama, Bimini, and Grand Key closed for face-to-face instruction. Tyne says it was a wise move, as it is important to err on the side of caution.
The weather could change rapidly, and like we were talking, we do have a frontal boundary in the area. The ground is already soaked and wet, and we don't want the kids to be splashing around in any mud or get caught in any sudden shower activity.
Now, weather officials say it is now the second phase of the hurricane season. While Hurricanes Kirk and Leslie are currently turning in the Atlantic, Tyne says they do not pose an immediate threat to the Bahamas, and at this time, Milton remains their primary focus. For the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, I'm Raven Davis.
Thanks, Raven. Well, the Minister for Grand Bahama releasing a statement on Hurricane Milton. According to the release, she says, "We know the strength and resilience of our island community, but we also know the impact and immense challenges that a storm like this can bring. Now is the time to prepare." She urges residents to pay attention to the official updates from the Met Department and make sure you and your loved ones have everything you need: emergency supplies, a safe shelter, and a solid plan. Residents in flood-prone areas or at home that may not withstand the storm should move to higher ground. Meantime, Member of Parliament for West Grand Bahama, Kingsley Smith, also releasing a statement urging all residents of West Grand Bahama and Bimini to begin taking proactive steps in preparation for any level of impact we may face from this storm. Residents are urged to stay connected by frequently checking for updates. Well, Florida has issued evacuation orders as Tampa braces for a direct hit from Hurricane Milton, leaving residents there in a heightened state of alert. On Grand Bahama, some residents are just busy making preparations just in case. Cleopatra Murphy has the details.
Get prepared. think that it's a dangerous one.
As Hurricane Milton barrels towards Florida, expected to bring with it deadly storm surge of up to 20 feet, although not directly in its path, Grand Bahamians are in full preparation mode, having learned valuable lessons from Hurricane Dorian.
Persons are taking the storm with a bit of caution. I don't know how overreactive they are, but they are showing some sign of caution. They are picking up basic hurricane items. This has been going on basically from the hurricane season, but within the last 2 days, we have seen an uptick in persons shopping for hurricane supplies.
At Dolly Madison Home Center, General Manager James Rowe says items like batteries, flashlights, fuel canisters, portable stoves, tarps, and other essentials are flying off the shelves as business has seen a boost due to Hurricane Milton. Florida resident Lou DiMartino will ride out the rough seas on his boat with family, but has stocked up on food and other supplies. Not overly concerned, he still offers this advice.
No point in staying if it's going to be a dangerous storm. Just get out. There's nothing worth, risking your life over, Otherwise, just do the normal prep, and stay home is sometimes safer.
After having experienced the terror of Hurricane Dorian, Christine Flowers takes nothing for granted and encourages others to be proactive.
It's serious because you don't know what's going to happen. Get your stuff ready. Don't wait too late.
Another resident, Alfred Smith, who stopped for a portable stove, says he is actively monitoring the storm.
You got to always take precaution and be concerned because it can shift at any given time based on the atmospheric conditions. So you got to be ready for it.
As Milton gets closer to landfall in Florida, Smith says Grand Bahamians are all too aware of the devastating impact of hurricanes, having weathered Dorian, and are far from complacent.
They know exactly what a hurricane can do, and so I think they're more aware and they're more conscious of the dangers of such events. And so they are really, whenever there's a caution out there, they've really taken the necessary step to be prepared.
Grand Bahama expects to experience wind and heavy rain associated with Hurricane Milton, and while not expected to get a direct hit, officials advise, prepare in advance, and continue to monitor the storm. For the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, I'm Cleopatra Murphy.
Well, the Department of Social Services is responsible for hurricane shelters. Assistant Director Jody Burrows gives an update for the island of Grand Bahama.
Opening the 8 Mile Rock High School Gymnasium, which can accommodate approximately 500 shelterees, and of course the special needs shelter, which is Christ the King Church, the Foster B. Pestina Hall.
Now, if there is a need for East End to be evacuated, the Maurice Moore School will act as a shelter for that area. Now, all shelters will be activated once the administrator and Met Office warrants them that they need to be activated. In other news, Abaco is bracing for tropical storm impact from Hurricane Milton. The Member of Parliament for South and Central Abaco says that they are prepared for whatever the storm brings. Shalia Roll reports.
As Hurricane Milton is about to make landfall in Florida, the northern Bahamas is expected to feel the outer bands of this massive storm. As Bahamians are adhering to the necessary storm preparedness protocols, the Member of Parliament for South and Central Abaco says that they are already experiencing some effects of this weather system.
We are watching Hurricane Milton as it approached, and also the low pressure disturbance that grew on top of us yesterday. We have had heavy rains and winds. It looks like we're in a bit of a lull right now where it has calmed down, but more weather is approaching. We do have minor flooding in the low-lying areas. We are watching it, and Public Works is on the road right now doing their assessments.
Although the island is experiencing weather, the airport is still open, allowing visitors to travel. Pinder says that as there is still air travel, DRM officials are sending charter planes to the island to assist residents who may still have damage to their home.
He told us that he'll be sending a charter plane in with some tarps and other things to to assist us with houses that may still be leaky through the extensive rain that we've been having.
As these northern islands are expected to experience tropical storm effects, the Member of Parliament says that the Emergency Command Center is now open.
Our Incident Command Center will be open full-time and fully staffed with members from the relevant agencies that deal with the emergency response. But we had opened this morning partially, so we are in place and ready to go.
MP Pinder says that the hurricane shelters that are listed are ready to go once officials give the word to activate them. However, the hurricane shelter in Central Pines that was destroyed on the 5th anniversary of Hurricane Dorian is still under construction. For the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Shalia Rule.
And still to come.
When we come back, former Red Cross administrator praising NGOs for their work. That story and sports highlights when we return.
There are some things that are undeniably Bahamian. A good conch salad, junkanoo, the way we worship, the way we take care of one another, all undeniably Bahamian. And right in the midst of our iconic things, places, and people is Commonwealth Bank. Increasing access, sponsoring dreams, working alongside Bahamians to increase the quality of their lives for more than 60 years. Commonwealth Bank, nothing more than being Bahamian. Commonwealth Bank, leader in personal banking services.
On down and see what Dolly Madison has in store for you. Renovate and rejuvenate at Dolly Madison.
Ever heard of variety? At Hair Depot Plus, we have hair, skin, home appliances, body care, garden tools, and cleaning supplies. We are located in the LMR Mall. WhatsApp us at 808-5316. Now, that is what I call variety.
It's KB and Friends live in concert at the Grand Lucayan Ballroom Sunday, October 13th. Gates open at 6 p.m. and the show starts at 8 p.m. Tickets are $60 in advance, $80 at the door. Sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry for Grand Bahama, and Extreme Auto.
Your #1 team in the North. Only the sun covers the Bahamas better.
And welcome back. The Bahamas Red Cross has been a staple in providing assistance to many on the island of Grand Bahama. Now, as they near the return of its widely supported Red Cross Ball, we hear from a former administrator who recounts how the NGOs stood in the gap for so many. Shane Stubbs provides this report.
The Bahamas Red Cross's presence here on Grand Bahama has undoubtedly been felt over the years, with initiatives like the Meals on Wheels program, first aid training, and national disaster relief. Former Administrator Mary Culmer has witnessed firsthand the lengths it has gone to in that regard. While food provision was never an issue, the main concern was the day-to-day financial toll. First aid training acted as their primary source of income, but through the Red Cross Ball, they found a bevy of success through the generous donations of its sponsors buying into the long-standing vision of serving the community.
You had Meals on Wheels, but you needed to pay for the gas for the van that took the meals out. You needed to pay for the gas to cook the food for the Meals on Wheels. You needed to pay for the lights to keep the refrigerators on, etc., for the day-to-day operation.
From our estimation, the current at-risk poverty level brought on by multiple natural disasters over the years has increased the need for the organization. However, the faithful service of the instructors during a very uncertain time cannot go unforgotten.
They provided those services to us free of charge, and I'm forever grateful. It made my life a little more pleasant here. This is God's business. God takes care of the poor among us. And each time that I would have felt distressed, something major happened. Someone would walk in and give me a check, which would have helped me over the hump at that time.
With the call to action ringing louder and louder, Culmer says now is the time for a renaissance.
We are hoping to revitalize our community and their interest with the Red Cross, and we're hoping to begin that here with this ball next month. We are the Red Cross, resilient, renewed, recharged.
The Renaissance Ball takes place Saturday, October 19th at the Grand Lucayan Ballroom. For the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, I'm Shane Stubbs.
Thanks, Shane. And now it's time to ask GBPC.
How
does Grand Bahama Power Company prepare for a hurricane?
That's a frequently asked question. So GBPC prepares for storm season beginning from the month of January to May, which is pre-storm season. This is the time that we take to review our playbooks and our procedures. These help us to determine what it is we should do and when we should do it. During the month of May, post into storm season, we then begin to monitor the weather forecast. This keeps us on our toes. We continue to watch the weather forecast and have frequent Charter Committee monthly meetings. This helps us to stay on task and also assess as conditions change. In the event we do incur a storm, we then conduct a lessons learned. Lessons learned help us to restore more safely and even quickly in the future.
And that's a look at stories making news. Jay, tell us what's happening in sports.
Well, there's been a lot of cancellations this entire week with the weather, but hopefully swimming begins at the end of the month with the first swim meet.
All right, that's coming up next. But first, here's a check on your local weather forecast.
Tonight's weather forecast is brought to you by Royal Star Assurance.
'Cause it's so beautiful.
See news in the making? Call us at 352-9713 or 359-5167, or you can email us at zns3news@gmail.com.
Hi, I want to put some shoes on your feet.
Hi, I want to put some shoes on your feet.
I still want to put shoes on your feet.
I want to put some shoes on your feet.
And I still want to put shoes on your feet.
We still want to put shoes on your feet.
2 locations to put shoes on your feet. Downtown Freeport, and now our newest location in the Carmichael City Shopping Plaza, right behind the Walk-Up Wendy's, Carmichael Road West.
Bahamas Diamond Eagle Foundation presents Youth Ambassador Awards. Under the theme, We Can, Philippians 4:13, we will be honoring the life of the late Sir Jack Hayward and Mr. Edward St. George. They will be awarded the Diamond Award. We will also be honoring Mr. Keith Cooper, Mr. Shavano Buddy Hill, Mr. Charles Softly Robbins, Mr. Nigel Kirby, Pastor Anthony Williams, and Mr. Chris Payne. And they will be awarded the Diamond Eagle Youth Ambassador Award. It's all happening Saturday, October 12th at the Pelican Bay Hotel, Port Lucaya. Cocktail reception at 6:30 p.m. Award ceremony at 8 p.m. Dress code cocktail formal. Ticket outlets are Frank's Ice Cream. Tickets are $50. For more information, call 805-2093. See you at the Bahamas Diamond Eagle Foundation Youth Ambassador Awards, Saturday, October 12th at Pelican Bay Hotel, Port Lucaya.
Hi, I'm Derek Stubbs.
And I'm Cindy Russell. ZNS 810 AM presents
Grand Bahama. Get ready for the event of the year. Experience a live recording of one of the Bahamas' leading gospel ensembles, Shabbat, on stage with some of gospel's greats, along with the Grand Bahama gospel community. Sunday, National Heroes Day weekend, October 13th, 7 p.m., Jubilee Cathedral, East Settlers Way. It's a free event. Don't miss an experience of a lifetime.
But it doesn't stop there. You can be a part of the largest music workshop and coming together of the island's best in creative arts. Register today by scanning here or get an application from your local church. The Grand Bahama Music Workshop begins Wednesday, October 9th at 7 p.m. nightly through Friday the 11th. Sessions for choir members, praise teams, dancers, musicians, sound technicians, and media operators. The nightly sessions followed by a mass choir rehearsal to record special songs at Shabbat's live recording.
Good evening, ladies and gents. I'm Jay Philippe, and welcome to Sport. First in sports, the swim season kicks off in a matter of weeks for Grand Bahama athletes. Mako Aquatics Grand Bahama Swim Club is looking to have another successful season in the pool. Kimaya Sanders in the girls' 13-14 age group and Kimani Cooper in the boys' 9-10 age group are both looking to make career cuts this year.
Last year, I would say I didn't do so well last year nationals because I lost some of my events, but this year I did come back and I'm very close to some records, so this year I'm working extra hard to get that record so that I'll be able to make it next year. And also I'm trying to work hard so I can be on the Carifta team again because now I know I have a lot more competition. I'm working on some other strokes because I've only been to Carifta for breaststroke, so hopefully this year I could get some other strokes, make some other times, so I'll be able to add more events to my list.
Last year, the season for me was amazing because in nationals, I get the high point trophy for 9-10 and I win a lot of medals. For the new season, I'm working on some different strokes to be better at it. So like butterfly, I'm not too well at it, but I'm working on my kick and my pull so I can do better on my underwaters.
Next in sports, Jonquil Jones and the New York Liberty advanced to the WNBA Finals for the second year in a row. The Liberty eliminated the two-time defending champs, Las Vegas Aces, in 4 games. The Liberty will now wait on the winner of the Minnesota Lynx and Connecticut Sun series in the finals, which begins Thursday, October 10th. And finally in sports, the Grand Bahama Soccer Club is now in full swing at the YMCA soccer field with Coach Mary and Donnie Knowles on Saturdays for boys and girls. This past weekend, the youngsters had the opportunity to train with the University of Bahamas men's soccer team. Training begins from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that's your quick check on sports. Your Facebook friend of the day is up next. Be blessed.
We all need to save. Save time, gas, and money. Shopping at Save More can help you do just that. Make us your first stop for all your prescription needs and medical supplies. Get all your health and beauty items at the same time. And don't miss our huge choice of snacks to satisfy your cravings. And the largest vitamin selection and over-the-counter relief products. Need diapers and other baby care items? First stop. The new section for makeovers, cosmetics, and beautiful jewelry will make you sparkle for that next special event. Save More Drugs, your more store.
Jade Champagne and The Rhythm presents 102.7 The Rhythm turns 3, and it's a big performance with Taurus Riley live. Taurus Riley live. Oh yeah, the hitmaker, the reggae icon, Taurus Riley live. Saturday, December 14th at the Grand Lucayan Ballroom. Doors open at 8 p.m., showtime at 11 p.m. For 102.7 The Rhythm. Big birthday party with Taurus Riley. Live. Get tickets online now. TheRhythm3.com. And it's a big performance. Taurus Riley. Brought to you by Jade Champagne and The Rhythm. Saturday, December 14th, 102.7 The Rhythm. Turns 3 with Taurus Riley. Live.
Your number 1 team in the North. Only the sun covers the Bahamas better.
And that concludes the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. On behalf of the entire ZNS News team here in the North, I'm Mamiko Knowles. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to stay tuned. The Bahamas Tonight continues.
Go ahead, Kush.
I'm saying it.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Bahamas tonight. The Prime Minister to address the nation this evening on the potential impact of Hurricane Milton on the northern Bahamas. But while we await what local officials have to say, we begin our newscast with the state of Florida. Residents there bracing for what could be historic loss of life, destruction, and a long road to recovery ahead. All as the Sunshine State finds itself in the direct path of what's expected to be a violent attack from Hurricane Milton. Residents in many parts of the state have been ordered to leave. Bahamians there are being urged to take precautionary measures. Many returning home as uncertainty builds about what will happen next. Tonight, the fate of Florida is prompting discussion about what we here in the Bahamas need to do right now. Corval Pyfram has that story.
ZNS News is brought to you by the new.
From Sunday that the regular flight was full and that persons wanted to come out once they recognized how strong the hurricane was going to be. So we placed an additional.
The Bahamas does not appear to be in the projected path of Hurricane Milton, which is set for a collision course with Florida and the Gulf Coast, bringing with it what is expected to be unprecedented levels of destruction. And while we may be spared, just like the last few days, we are feeling the effects of this system. Director of the Environmental Planning and Protection Unit, Dr. Rihanna Neely.
We are creating an environment through the emissions of our greenhouse gases that continue to absorb the heat from the atmosphere. The ocean is intended to absorb the heat and to absorb these gases. So the ocean is just doing what it's supposed to do.
The long and short of what's driving all of this comes down to two words: climate change. Dr. Neely says for the last 9 years, we have seen record levels of heat. She's an environmental scientist, and in her own words, she cringes at what the next 9 years could be like if this current trend holds. You think things are bad now? Well, according to Neely, they're about to get a whole lot worse.
The impacts are not just hydrometeorological, of course. We're going to experience other kinds of impacts that relate to human illnesses that we need to be taken into consideration. We're starting now to do research in our hospitals now to see about these climate-related illnesses and tracking so that we can be prepared for what we expect to be the impacts of climate change.
And our economy sits vulnerable, she cautions.
Because we are very reliant on economies outside of the Bahamas. So when an event like this happens in the United States or in another place, an import-export partner, we will experience the shocks of those kinds of impacts as well.
For the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Corval Pyfram.
Well, meantime, a 5-member ministerial team spearheading the Caribbean community's preparation for the 29th session of the Conference of the Parties, better known as COP29, to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The CARICOM representatives from Trinidad and Tobago, Belize, Grenada, Suriname, and Dominica will use the high-level environmental meeting set for November 11th through the 22nd in Azerbaijan to advocate urgent climate action and robust financial commitments addressing the unique vulnerabilities of small island developing states. A ministerial champion for loss and damage will also be identified. It is a landmark year for financing as CARICOM seeks to secure a climate finance goal that guarantees access for SIDS to grant-based or concessional finance, especially for adaptation and loss and damage, respectively. Well, the National Fly Carrier making its final flight out of Orlando this afternoon, and according to Bahamas Air's Managing Director Tracy Cooper, that's expected to remain the case until the hurricane passes and that airport reopens.
We recognized from Sunday that the regular flight was full and that persons wanted to come out once they recognized how strong the hurricane was going to be. So we placed an additional jet flight onto that service yesterday afternoon. And, you know, it's a good thing that we did. We came out with over 100 passengers on the airplane. We had passengers both for Nassau, Freeport, and beyond into some of the other islands. Presently, we have flights into Miami and Fort Lauderdale. We expect that this will continue. We will only interrupt the flights if the weather dictates.
You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. There's more news in a moment.
In the chaos of our daily lives, it's easy to be caught up in the rush. But when you're behind the wheel, remember, rushing can lead to disaster. Don't rush. Take your time. Remember, your life and others depends on it. Slow down. Stay alert and arrive alive. Because in the race of life, it's not about how fast you get there, but how safely.
This message is brought to you by Commonwealth Bank, leader in personal banking services.
KFC is giving you more to love with our KFC Bucket Meals with large size. Get the KFC Family Bucket featuring 8 pieces of juicy chicken, family fries, and 4 biscuits that feeds 4. A KFC Deluxe Bucket with 10 pieces of delicious chicken, 2 larger sides, and 4 biscuits that feeds 4 to 6. Or a KFC Party Bucket with 15 pieces of our chicken, 3 larger sides, and 6 biscuits that feeds 6. And we'll handle the dishes, plates, and utensils included, so you can lick your fingers and reach. KFC knows value, and it's finger licking good.
With BGC's crystal clear mobile service, stay connected seamlessly, whether on land or at sea. Our reliable postpaid plans keep your loved ones closer, no matter where life takes you.
A legacy of leadership. Join the International Third World Leadership Association in partnership with the Miles and Ruth Monroe Foundation for Legacy Weekend, celebrating the legacy of Dr. Miles Monroe and other visionary leaders. November 8th to the 9th. Experience 3 powerful events. ITWLA hosts Legacy Leadership Lectures, honoring distinguished global leaders. November 9th, the Miles and Ruth Monroe Foundation presents Legacy Walk to Remember. 5K and 10K routes along West Bay Streets, Nassau, Bahamas. Then join us for the Legacy Reunion Concert, featuring Grammy-winning gospel artist Yolanda Adams and Sherwin Gardner at the Miles E. Monroe Diplomat Center.
Hey guys, it's Yolanda Adams. It's about to be a celebration November 8th through the 10th at the Miles E. Monroe Diplomat Center. I can't wait to see you. Come on.
Visit ITWLA.com for details. Don't miss Legacy Weekend.
Portion of the news is brought to you by Bahamas Striping Group of Companies.
You're looking at a shot of a sunset over Atlantis. Welcome back. Bahamas Power and Light's much talked about transformation, clearly not only structural. In terms of manpower, a new chief executive officer has been appointed to lead the power giant in the person of Long Islander Toni Seymour. Seymour, the very first Bahamian woman to hold the position in the company's nearly 70-year history, replaces Siobhan Cambridge, who was appointed in 2022. Seymour's appointment touted as one that exemplifies BPL's commitment to advancing women in STEM, reflecting its dedication to fostering a diverse and inclusive leadership team. BPL's new CEO, no stranger to the energy sector, having began her career in the company's Engineer in Training program, where she rose through the ranks to hold key leadership positions. Her new role includes spearheading efforts to expand solar power integration and overseeing New Providence's power purchase agreements. Well, the Attorney General is seeking to make as strong a case as any for plea agreements, which in recent days have drawn the ire of some members of the public. And this particularly following the sentencing of Joel Strawn. The 22-year-old was sentenced to 9 years after pleading guilty to a string of crimes, including the rape of an 83-year-old woman. Disclosing numbers in the upper chamber Monday, Senator the Honorable Ryan Pinder KC cited that of the 162 criminal cases disposed of last year, 44 were as a result of plea agreements. So far this year, that number stands at 29.
I want to reassure the public that when we pursue a plea deal in the courts, it's not about being lenient on the accused. It's about making sure that justice is served in the best way possible, having regard for the facts and circumstances around that particular case. As mentioned, sometimes factors like the availability of witnesses and the strength of the evidence come into play. In one particular case that drew complaints, we faced real challenges as to the quality of the evidence in the matter. And so the choice was made, Madam President. Do you risk not obtaining a conviction because of the quality of the evidence? Or do you negotiate and arrive at a guilty plea and ensure that justice is actually done?
A leader of opposition business in the Senate, Darren Henfield, using his contribution to debate on the National Crime Intelligence Amendment Bill to renew the argument for the death penalty. From the onset, dismissing critics who may cast aside his comments as purely political.
I understand the proponents for, and I understand those who advocate against. I get all of that. Sometimes you execute, one of the main arguments is you might execute the wrong person. That's an argument. Another argument is that execution is not a deterrent to people committing violent acts and killing people. In my mind, it's not meant to be a deterrent. It's meant to be a punishment. It's meant to exact judgment upon a person. Value for value. Value for value, man. How you can just walk around here, walk up to a father with his children.
Well, we now go live to the Disaster Risk Management's live press conference on Hurricane Milton.
Thank you all so much, and welcome to the National Disaster Emergency Operations Center of the DRM Authority, formerly known as NEMA. I'd like to welcome you all to our hurricane update for Hurricane Milton. We've been very fortunate thus far in the hurricane season in that we have not received any direct impact, and if we are lucky, we will not get a full impact from this hurricane as well. However, as you all know, a tropical storm watch has been issued for the northern islands, and we are anticipating indirect impacts and tropical storm conditions as early as Wednesday. We have a lineup of speakers today that will guide us through what we can expect over the next few days. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis.
Thank you very much. And please be seated. Good evening, everyone. After the briefing received in Cabinet this morning on the developments and preparations surrounding Hurricane Milton, I wanted to speak to you, the Bahamian people, directly. At 6 p.m. this evening, the Met Office issued its latest bulletin. Hurricane Milton continues to strengthen as it approaches the western coast of Florida and is currently a Category 5 hurricane. The Met Office has upgraded the status for islands in the northern Bahamas from a tropical storm watch to a tropical storm warning. This means that tropical storm conditions are expected within the next 36 hours on the islands of Abaco, Bimini, and Grand Bahama, and the surrounding keys. While the threat is not as significant as that of a hurricane threat posed to our neighbors in Florida, we still need to take it seriously. Tropical storms are nothing new for us. Year after year, we are told how we must prepare and ready ourselves and our homes to keep us all safe. But we know how quickly things can change. The storm, in particular, has intensified extremely rapidly. And so, within the next 24 hours, it is important that you do all that you can to stay safe. The Disaster Risk Management Authority has issued detailed guidance on how best to prepare. Please don't wait. If you haven't already done so, start preparing now. The Met Office advises that as Hurricane Milton passes over Florida, tropical storm winds will be experienced on Abaco, Bimini, and Grand Bahama, and as I said earlier, the surrounding keys. These islands have already experienced excessive rainfall since Sunday from another storm system, and so the ground is already saturated with water. Heavy rainfall has also been experienced on other islands in recent days, namely on Andros, the Berry Islands, New Providence, and Eleuthera. And now the rainfall from Hurricane Milton is expected to intensify, especially overnight tomorrow night. The Met Office advises that as a result, there's likely to be extensive flooding. Take whatever precautions necessary to protect yourselves from this excessive flooding. The Met Office also advises that from noon tomorrow, that is on Wednesday, heavy rainfall is also expected on those other islands, Andros, the Berry Islands, New Providence, and Eleuthera. Because of the heavy flooding which is expected to result from this, after consultation with the Minister of Education, I'm announcing that all schools on those islands will be closed until Friday for in-person teaching. We don't want our young people having to navigate large areas of flooding while getting to and from school. The Ministry of Education will provide further detailed guidance. The broadcast alert system has already been activated on all mobile phones in the country, and you have received one earlier this afternoon. Please pay attention to the alerts and follow the advice given. ZNS and other news outlets will broadcast further alerts and updates as they are issued. Stay tuned to official channels for updates from the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. Friends, for the past several months, I've held monthly meetings with the disaster risk management team. Compared to what was in the past, the team has greatly enhanced the degree of national preparedness. They are coordinating efforts across all sectors to ensure that the agency is ready to respond swiftly and effectively. I expect that those of you, especially in Abaco and Grand Bahama, may well find this time to be the cause of some anxiety. Given the projected path of Hurricane Milton and the fact that it is not projected to make landfall in the Bahamas, there's no need for panic or alarm. Even so, much has been learnt and improved upon from past experiences. One of the lessons is that it is better to take extra precautions rather than be taken by surprise by unforeseen events. In other words, as my grandfather would say, it's better to be safe than sorry. Focus your efforts on being safe. For example, if your home is at risk of flooding, go and stay with a friend or relative whose home may not face such risk. Stock up on water, food, batteries, and so on, as you would when facing a direct threat of a hurricane. Clear anything from your property which may be blown around in the wind. Protect your doors and windows. Raise your furniture or other household valuables off the floor in case of the flooding. And of course, and more importantly, protect yourselves. We will continue to monitor the storm extremely closely. The Family Island Administrators, the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the National Youth Guard, the Ministry of Works, and all our major agencies are on standby. They are ready to respond and deploy resources as needed to protect and support our communities. We remain in close touch with our partner agencies in the United States and in the region. To those fellow Bahamians residing in Florida, I strongly urge you to take this hurricane extremely seriously. If you are in Florida, Milton is a powerful and dangerous storm, and is forecast to remain so as it makes landfall on Florida's west coast. Please heed the warnings from local authorities, make necessary preparations, and take all measures to ensure your safety and that of your families. The Governor of the Bahamas is coordinating our efforts with our consular offices and local Bahamian associations in Florida to provide assistance wherever possible. As Bahamians, we are no strangers to the challenges posed by tropical storms and hurricanes. We have faced them before, and we have emerged stronger each time. Let us remain vigilant, prepared, and ready to act. Our government stands prepared to take every necessary measure to protect lives, property, and communities. I want to thank you, and may God continue to bless and protect the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for those words of both caution and assurance. I am sure all of the emergency support functions here present take heart in your confidence in their abilities and their commitment. They have been working hard over the last several days. I would now like to invite Mr. Jeffrey Simmons, Acting Director of the Bahamas Department of Meteorology, who will give us an appraisal of the status of the storm and the conditions we can expect over the next few days.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Milton developed in the Gulf of Mexico last week, and since its development, we have been watching it closely to see what was going on. At first, looking at even up to yesterday, while we were monitoring the system, we did not see the need to issue any alerts for any of the islands of the Bahamas. However, on yesterday, Milton really became a very powerful, record-breaking, as a matter of fact, hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico on yesterday. And it developed the forecast models and everything. We all have an agreement on the movement of the system, taking a northwest track from the northern Yucatan Peninsula into the east coast of central Florida. However, last night, an interesting thing happened that is not very uncommon with these type of storms. Something that we call eyewall replacement began to take place last night. And as a result of that happening, what that usually means for us then is that the wind field of Milton, we realize now, began to expand. And we noticed that a lot today while it was still moving away from the Yucatan Peninsula. As a result of that, we realized that as Milton passed across central Florida, now because of its increase in size, there's a possibility that the islands, or that are northern islands, in particular Abaco, Grand Bahama, and Bimini, can be affected and could experience tropical storm force winds. So after consultation among ourselves, local meteorologists, and also with our colleagues at the National Hurricane Center, it was decided that we would issue a tropical storm watch today at noon today, which we did. Looking at the forecast, and everything is holding to what we forecast, we saw now that this could really come to being. So now we are in a warning mode, which means that 36 hours we could start to experience these tropical storm force winds. Because the islands of the Bahamas is just on the outer peripheral of the hurricane, we would only experience tropical storm force winds. Even though it's a very powerful hurricane, you have to be within at least 50 miles of the center of the storm to experience the hurricane force winds. So we don't, on the forecast track, which we have high confidence in, will not take that path, but will take the path moving into central Florida on Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So what we did was, what Mr. Jeffrey Green, our chief meteorologist, did was he put together what kind of impacts we can face on these islands. And so I'll let him come and explain to us with the graphic what we can expect as a result of Milton as it passes through the area.
Ms. Taylor, can you start? Good evening, everyone. Ms. Taylor, can you start advance? Okay. All right, so this storm is a Category 5 storm, and because of its mass size, even though we'll be well to the south of it, we expect that we will get some squally conditions with possible tornadic activity. So as the storm moves closer to Florida, we will see more and more activity across the northern and northwest Bahamas, parts of the central Bahamas. The southeast is pretty much going to stay pretty calm for the most of the passage of the storm. The motion, as you can see, the storm, the blue would be the tropical storm force winds of 39 miles an hour to 57 miles an hour. And that will start to affect Grand Bahama 9 a.m. on Thursday, and that will last until 7 a.m. on Friday. As you continue to move the system, you will see the wind field in the blue again starts to move across northern Nabucco, and that will affect them from 4 p.m. on Thursday until 10 a.m. on Friday. Again, as it moves, you will see that wind field move across, continue. It will move across central Abaco, and that will affect them from 9 p.m. on Thursday until 10 a.m. on Friday. South Abaco will be just outside of that tropical storm force winds, but they may get some gusty winds up to tropical storm force. Again, it's likely that Bimini will be right on the outskirts of the tropical storm force winds. So they may get gusts to tropical storm force, which is 39 miles an hour or greater, but I don't think they will have sustained winds. So based on that, we know that Freeport will be under the gun from Thursday, with a lot of that wind affecting them, and plus that squally conditions that will really keep the thunderstorms and the severe weather activity most likely affecting them through that period. We expect clearing as we go into Friday afternoon. So as the system pulls further away from us, we expect that Friday we'll see some reprieve in terms of the weather conditions. The winds, like I said, will drop off around 10 a.m. on Friday. So that would be time for us to assess if there's any damage or anything happens during the time that we had tropical storm conditions. We expect the same amount of rainfall of 4 to 6 inches across the northern Bahamas, but up to isolated amounts of 10 inches. So we know, and this is true Friday morning. So we know that we've been getting that. We've been getting a lot of rainfall. We expect that will continue until Friday, and then some improvement as I say the storm move away from the area. For the Northwest, we expect 3 to 5 inches of rainfall with isolated maximums of around 6 inches. Sorry, that's 8 inches. So again, I read the rain gauges today, just from last night into this morning. Well, today when I read them, we had over 2 inches of rainfall. So we know that we've been having heavy amounts of rainfall that have been passing through the islands, especially for New Providence. We've had some flooding on the roadways, and we expect that to continue until the system is truly out of the Bahamas area. For the central, we expect 1 to 2 inches with isolated maximum of around 4 inches of rainfall. We expect that to be spotty, not as we have it in the Northwest and the northern Bahamas. There will be more spotty times where you will find that throughout the islands. And for the southeast Bahamas, we expect basically less than 2 inches of rainfall because they're not expected to be impacted as the system is more north of the southeast Bahamas. So the other thing that we're worried about is coastal inundation from the high surf and the waves that are going to come from the system. We expect that the majority of that will happen on Friday, which is because the storm is moving away. The wind-generated waves will be impacted the northern shores of islands. That means that they will have some really high surf that will most likely affect the coastlines, and that will mean inundation of water coming on shore. So those who are in coastal areas, be aware that even though the storm may be leaving us on Friday, that's when we'll have the majority of that water impacting the northern shores on Friday and Saturday, with some improvement on Sunday. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons, Mr. Green. Up next, I'd like to invite Minister of State in the Ministry of Disaster Risk Management, the Honorable Leon Lundy, to give brief remarks regarding response.
Good evening, Bahamas. As we continue to monitor the approach of Hurricane Milton, I want to assure you that we are fully prepared and ready to support every community in this country. The government, through the DRM Authority, has been working to ensure that all islands have the necessary resources to withstand any storm. We have taken a strategic approach, decentralizing our disaster preparedness efforts, which means each island is able to focus on its own specific needs. Every island is unique in its geography, population distribution, and risk factors. This means that one solution does not fit all, and we are addressing each situation accordingly. Some islands may request resources for food and non-perishable supplies. Others need sandbags to guard against flooding, while still others are focusing on securing fuel for their generators to ensure power during potential outages. In this vein, we've been closely engaging with the Family Island administrators and representatives over the past few days. Yesterday afternoon, we held a critical meeting to assess and address the most urgent needs. One significant request across many islands was for tarps to secure homes against potential roof damage. I'm happy to report that the distribution of tarps have already begun in several communities, and those that have not yet received them will be receiving them first thing in the morning. This is part of our proactive approach to ensuring that no home goes unprotected as we brace for this storm. At the heart of our efforts is a commitment to ensuring that resources are not only provided, but are distributed effectively. We have teams on the ground working in real time to get these critical supplies to where they are most needed. The Disaster Risk Management Authority is coordinating with local officials, the Defense Force and Police Force, and volunteers across the country. This type of collaboration is what will allow us to respond to Hurricane Milton swiftly and effectively, should there be any unforeseen impacts once the storm approaches. But it's important to remember that while we are doing everything we can as an agency to prepare and respond, preparedness begins at home. I want to strongly urge every resident to take this storm seriously. Now is the time to act, if you haven't already done so. Gather your emergency supplies, including water, non-perishable food, flashlights, batteries, and any medications that you may need for the next few days. Check your surroundings, secure any loose items in your yard, and make sure your homes are secure as possible. Additionally, if you are living in a low-lying or flood-prone area, we encourage you to make preparations to evacuate to a safer location if needed. The shelters will be opened if the need arises, and they are well equipped with the necessary resources. Please ensure you stay tuned to all advisories coming from the Met Office, the DRM Authority, and other official sources. Community solidarity is vital during times like these. We ask that you also check in on your neighbors, particularly the elderly and vulnerable, making sure that they too have what they need. This is a time when coming together as a community can make all the difference. It is also important to remain calm but vigilant. Hurricanes are unpredictable and conditions can change rapidly. Continue to monitor all updates and do not let your guard down until the all clear has been issued. Our nation has weathered storms before, and each time we have come out stronger because of the resilience and determination of our people. I want to reiterate that your safety is our top priority. Don't wait. The government is doing everything in its power to mitigate the risks and ensure that you have the support you need. We are confident in our disaster preparedness plans, but we also need you to do your part. As Hurricane Milton approaches, please take every precaution and make the necessary preparations for you and your loved ones. And may God bless and keep the Bahamas safe. Thank you. At this time, I also wanted to acknowledge the presence of our official opposition team members that are here, members of Parliament, members of the Senate, and also our Commissioner of Police and our Commodore of the Defense Force. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. And now I would like to invite our last speaker of the evening of the press conference, Managing Director of the Disaster Risk Management Authority, Mr. Aaron Sargent, who will bring details of our response efforts.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I just give a brief update to the response efforts of the Disaster Risk Management Authority. Subsequent to the special weather statement by the Bahamas Department of Meteorology yesterday, October 7th at 3 p.m., which detailed, as we all know, the severe weather impacts of Hurricane Milton, the DRM Authority would have hosted a meeting with all of the Northern Islands and districts, all of the Family Island administrators, members of Parliament, and the Disaster Risk Management Consultative Committees. We spoke to them on their state of readiness, any challenges that they would have anticipated ahead of the weather statement and the potential impacts from Hurricane Milton. Subsequently, the National Disaster Emergency Operations Center was partially activated, along with the incident command centers in those districts of Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, as well as North Andros, Central Andros, Abaco, North Abaco, and Central Abaco. Additionally, the Department of Meteorology would have issued Alert Number 1 for Hurricane Milton on October 8th at 12 noon, placing a tropical storm watch in effect for the northern Bahamas. This includes Grand Bahama, Abaco, and Bimini, and it in turn triggered a full activation of the incident command centers on all of those islands. As we've heard, we know where the current storm position of Hurricane Milton is, and we are expecting some potential impact to those areas, including Grand Bahama, Abaco, and Bimini. Our emergency support function groups have been activated. Function groups like communications, transportation, health, and medical services, urban and marine search and rescue, public works, and utilities were all activated and are assisting with coordinating efforts to address the needs of affected residents. As we've heard earlier from our minister, tarps and supplies have been sent. About approximately 400 tarps have been sent to Abaco and Grand Bahama, and an additional lot will be sent in the morning. As we've heard from the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Education has announced schools in Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, and Grand Key will be closed for face-to-face learning on from today, October 8th to the 9th. We have tested successfully our internal communication systems that has been recently donated by the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. It is a Barrett high-frequency system, and it was tested as of today and is working, which allows us to have established communication with SEDEMA, which is located in Barbados. Shelter and medical preparations. Communications have been made with all of the shelters or identified shelters in the Northern Bahamas. The shelters are confirmed and ready if the need arises to be activated. Clinics as well in the Northern Bahamas are equipped and ready. Travel and transportation. The Lyndon Pinling International Airport, along with airports located in the Northern Bahamas, remains operational. However, some flights from Orlando and Tampa have been canceled. In addition, Fresh Creek runway was reported to have flooding, but they remain operational. Lastly, we would have met with the officials from SEDEMA early on today. They have now placed their response mechanisms on standby to assist if need be. We have also identified potential hazards that we expect to see from the passage of Hurricane Milton, which include localized flooding, some roof damage, etc., and the needs for tarp. We have advised them that if we reach a capacity where we need assistance, we'll reach out to them for that assistance. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Managing Director. And with that last speaker, I would like to bring this press conference to a close and thank everybody for attending. To the people of the Bahamas, I echo our Prime Minister and our Minister of State for Disaster Risk Management in saying, don't wait, get storm ready. This storm is essentially upon us, and we are doing our part to ensure that everyone feels as safe as possible in the approach of Hurricane Milton. We ask you to also do your part in protecting your homes, protecting your families, protecting your businesses. So once again, we thank everyone for attending, and with that, we bring this press conference to a close. Thank you, everyone.
Now, as you just heard, massive Hurricane Milton, not to be taken lightly, not when it's already shattered records in the Atlantic Basin to become one of the strongest storms ever. And while Milton's forecasted landfall is not the Bahamas, its aim is close enough. Tonight, we heard from the Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Davis. We also heard from the Acting Director of the Met Office, Jeffrey Simmons, along with Chief Meteorologist Jeffrey Green, the Minister of State with responsibility under whose portfolio falls the Disaster Risk Management Agency, Leon Lundy, as well as Aaron Sargent. Now, our Devontae Hanna is standing live at the DRM's Gladstone Road headquarters. Devontae, some takeaways.
Good evening, Makushla. A tropical storm warning is now in effect for the islands of Grand Bahama, Abaco, and Bimini. This as the Disaster Risk Management Authority today held a press conference, and they say while the country may not be feeling the full brunt of Hurricane Milton, they are not taking any chances and are ensuring that residents across the length and breadth of the Bahamas remain safe. The Prime Minister also announcing today, just moments ago, that schools in Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, New Providence, Eleuthera, as well as Andros will be closed until Friday, as it is expected that Hurricane Milton will bring heavy rains that can start at around 12 noon tomorrow. Now, of course, as it relates to those tropical storm winds and tropical storm conditions that can be expected in those islands, Grand Bahama can feel that impact as early as 9 a.m. on Thursday. Of course, Abaco can feel that impact as early as 4 p.m. on Thursday as well. And of course, meteorologists say that 3 to 6 inches of rain is expected on those northern coast islands, and in the central Bahamas we can expect up to 4 inches of rain, and in the southeast Bahamas less than 2 inches of rain to be felt as those tropical storm conditions spread across the Bahamas. And of course, the all clear, according to meteorologists, can be given by as early as 10 a.m. on Friday. Now, the government through the DRM Authority assured residents that they will continue to do their part to ensure that they all remain safe. They said that there have been several meetings with island representatives, island administrators, members of parliament. You can see several cabinet ministers are here on the ground to ensure that all plans and recovery efforts are happening. Now back to you, Makushla.
decade ago, the Bahamas Striping Group of companies was birthed out of a passion to change the way we travel. From only a $5,000 grant, the tenacity and work ethic has propelled BSGC to one of the leading road management companies in the Caribbean. We pride ourselves on going the extra mile where others won't, through the use of our state-of-the-art equipment and our certified team. Although the success is commendable, the road has been long. Yet, the mission continues in striving to be a world-class organization ran by Bahamians for Bahamians. With the help of our experienced and hardworking team, we at the Bahamas Striping Group of Companies are committed to making a difference, one road at a time.
People are going crazy for Popeyes around the world. Some have camped out for hours just to try our delicious chicken. This guy stocked up on 300 crunchy, juicy chicken sandwiches, just in case. And these lovebirds celebrated their wedding with the Popeyes cake. For real. We get it, y'all chicken lovers. Because we're just as crazy to marinate our chicken for 12 hours and make every piece by hand. That crazy love, we love.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Join us for Exuma Business Outlook, October 17th at Grand Isle Resort. Find out what is driving positive change for the future of Exuma. Keynote speaker MP for Exuma and Deputy Prime Minister I. Chester Cooper. Engage with panelists and presenters on better outcomes for the economy, business development, sustainable infrastructure, airports and airlift, technology, and more. Register today at tclevents.com.
The focus of tonight's Business Beat, Second Chances. Corville Pie Firm shows us tonight how 150 young people are being given a shot at theirs.
Many employers have lamented that it is increasingly difficult finding suitable candidates for entry-level jobs. These individuals simply lack basic training skills, thus creating an employment gap. This 4-week soft skills training by the National Training Agency is intended to reverse this alarming trend and give this latest group of 150 cohorts a chance at reaching their truest potential.
We give them a second chance. A lot of them, some of them maybe they didn't do good in school. Maybe they felt as though that they lacked the skills to go and enter the workplace. But here at the National Training Center, or Agency, this is exactly what we do. We prepare them for work.
Stania Davis, an assessment officer with the agency, worked closely with this group of 16 to 26-year-olds. Many lacked work experience but were eager to learn. This, she believes, is the start of a bright future for these youngsters.
They've been with us for the past 4 weeks, and let me tell you, it has been an experience. We have an amazing cohort.
Participants like Ashley Tilmy, Byron Knowles, and 17-year-old Derek Clear all agree the program is a useful tool for anyone trying to get a start.
What these programs did for me is just change my mindset to have a positive attitude when I go into the work field, and just to help my employer, my employee, and the people who I work with just to have a better working experience.
Over these past few weeks, we've learned the basics to join in the workforce and what to do and what not to do.
Well, today, I've learned that maintaining goals is very important, as well as, communication skills. That is necessary for us butlers to have, and we have to be good at it for our clients.
On the Business Beat, I'm Corville Piper.
Well, thanks, Corvo. We're now going to check in with LaDon and Marcellus, who's standing by to give us a sneak peek of Access Now. Guys?
Because all I have to say is, pom, pom, beep, beep. The big red machine is in the house. I know your son goes to SAC. Marcellus is an alumni. My mother's a former alumni. And they're here to tell us a little bit about their ball. Right, Marcellus? I know you're excited.
Best in the world, best in the world. All right.
Well, sounds good. Stay with us. More condolences on the passing of Darrell Miller after the break.
Entire flight food and rest in there. We hope that you enjoyed your flight, and we look forward to serving you in the near future.
Jose. He's in Eleuthera, and we're all the way in Nassau. You got it? Okay. Yes, you're right.
Eleuthera for tomorrow? No problem.
Is the Little Caesars Stuffed Crust Pizza. Get more pizza for less money. Only $12. It's a whole new level of pizza with cheese stuffed crust so spectacular that there's nothing left.
Pizza.
A delicious pepperoni pizza with the crust stuffed with lots of cheese and brushed with butter and garlic flavor and sprinkled with Parmesan cheese. Hot and ready Thursday to Saturday between 4 and 8 for only $12. Simply irresistible. And only at Little Caesars.
Pizza.
The Bahamas Press Club joins in extending condolences to family members of its founding president, Darrell Miller, who was found dead in his Minnie Street home Sunday. He was 69. In a career spanning more than 4 decades and including stints at the Nassau Guardian, Love 97, and ZNS, Miller is credited with distinguishing himself as a top-notch journalist committed to excellence. Be it reporting a story, calling election results, or guiding Bahamians through a hurricane, Darrell Miller says the club's president, Anthony Capron, was a one-of-a-kind journalist who left a lasting imprint on Bahamian journalism. Well, we leave you tonight with another look back at the man, the myth, the legend that was Darrell Miller.
Named Dorian, that is packing more danger and devastation than ever before in the history of our country. Number 4, Centerville, just coming in. James Alexander Daly, VCP, 0. Please put the 0 up.
Polling division number 3, DLA's candidate is Theophanes Kochimamogulus.
But how can I forget the Bay Street fire, the straw market? Where's the water? Darrell, that is legendary.
All over this country. Yes, we are walking back home. Back home. Lively and provocative.
And that does it for the National Report, but stay close. The Bahamas Tonight continues with Access Now.
Get the glow, keeping you in the know, keeping you in the know. God, it's good enough to eat, and it's good to grow. It's good enough to eat, and it's good to grow.
Meet Kenneth Bowe. He's the owner of Exuma's Chat and Chill. If you've ever been to the Exuma's, Chat and Chill has probably been on your list of activities. For just a short boat ride away from the mainland, you can experience fresh, native food and immaculate vibes. But according to Bowe, not everyone believed in his vision at first, especially when it came to the island's popular pig roast.
They said to me that I went crazy. I was called a fool. I come over here. You know, I was called all kind of names. But I don't bet. I tell them only name I worry about is being broke. We as the people don't like nothing new. And then coming back to the pig. When I started pig, I was told by my family and those, boy, ain't nobody gonna eat pork. I heard the rasta this, the rasta that. I said, who said I was serving rastas?
In fact, Bowe's pulled pork is one of the best and freshest you can get on this side of paradise.
And so I started with a little piglet that I used to buy from BFS. And couldn't get enough. So I said, boom. I went and I bought this big equipment. And from then on, I got started.
So what makes his pulled pork so good? Bowe walks us through the process.
Good. Get a pig, but then I don't kill him 3 months old. 6 months, 6 to 8 months. I want to do about 120 to 150 pounds. I lay it out in a fiberglass place I have. And I put salt water and I let it marinate with salt water, lime juice. And we scrub it to get the leaf. And we scrub them clean. And then I use Spanish thyme and I use rosemary.
Keeping you in the know with Good to Grow, I'm Leah Cooper.
the National Youth Ambassador Corps has been revived. Details on the way.
Plus, the story of an entire generation of teachers spanning over decades. An amazing story there.
Hurricane Milton has strengthened. It's expected to make its Florida landfall tomorrow evening. Our Basil Dean has the color.
And coming up in sports, more on Eleuthera softball champs.
The Bahamas Tonight Access Now starts now.
Good evening, I'm Marcellus Hall.
And I'm LaDawn Davis. Welcome to the Bahamas Tonight Access Now.
Well, a rainy Tuesday, certainly in the capital, LaDawn, and, well, have to pull out my galoshes.
Galoshes, raincoat, and sometimes jet ski, Marcellus. Whatever it takes, Marcellus.
You better believe it. Let's keep dry and dive straight into our news for tonight.
After nearly a decade of its absence this week, the National Youth Ambassadors Corps of the Bahamas has been revived with the installation of 14 youth ambassadors. The relaunch marks a new chapter for youth leadership and engagement in national and international forums. Rayard Spence, youth officer at the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, shared the significance of this program.
One of the reasons why we're so excited is because it speaks to how not only the young people are moving, but how the country is moving. So we have 14 young people that have taken up the charge to say that they're going to serve country and be the voice of young people in this country. And we could not be any more proud and any more excited about what they're getting ready to do in this nation.
The newly installed ambassadors will represent the Bahamas in various regional and international platforms, promoting youth perspectives on issues ranging from climate change to education. Newly installed Dean of the National Youth Ambassador Corps and Youth Ambassador to the United Nations, Amber Turner, described what this meant for her, fellow ambassadors, and Bahamian youth.
I'm really excited to be installed as a youth ambassador tonight. I think it's really important that youth of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas have a voice and have individuals in positions that can leverage their voices for important matters such as climate change, sustainable development, education reform, and the likes. I think youth are pivotal when it comes to nation building, and just having this opportunity today is really important.
Well, it's very rare you would hear the story of a generation of teachers, and tonight we share the legacy of a long-standing principal at a top private institution who's not only made a lasting impact on his family, but within the noble teaching profession itself for the past 4 decades.
A beautiful opportunity to sit back and to work with parents and students and teachers and to see the formation, the spiritual, intellectual formation of people.
His teaching career spans over 4 decades, but for Perry Cunningham, nurturing and shaping the minds of students in both the private and public school systems has been rewarding, to say the least.
In the government system, I was there at C.V. Bessel for a short time, the Language Arts Department. I moved to Aaron Bailey as a senior person, senior master for 7 years. Wonderful experience at Aaron Bailey. I believe that the Bahamians at large are not really aware of what all the good and achievement that is done in the public system. You have some amazing teachers and outstanding administrators, and I thank God that I had the privilege to work with them.
But what's startling is that the current principal of the Temple Christian Schools has inspired his 2 siblings and about 5 of his nieces to also become educators, which he says brings him great joy.
I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. God has blessed us with that gift to relate to young people. And what they do is amazing. It's not only going to the regular school, but during the summer, there is a vocation Bible school that a number of my my sisters, they are into.
Amid continued challenges plaguing the education sector, Cunningham is of the view that implementing advanced education technology in local schools would help to curb them.
There are schools that are ahead of us. You know, there's coding, there is blockchain, that's going on in these schools. And so when students come out in some of these other schools, they are ready to go into the workplace.
A pastor for some 12 years, 68-year-old Cunningham says he doesn't plan to retire just yet, but when it comes to that point, he says he will continue to educate Bahamians through teaching and preaching the Word of God.
And still to come, my alma mater in the house tonight, the Big Red Machine. Stay tuned to find out why they're here.
I've been shopping JBI Healthy Choice Coconut Milk for years.
And I've been using the JBI jerk seasoning for quite some time now, maybe about 4 years.
And whenever I get my JBI jasmine rice, I love to pair it with the JBI kidney beans. I've been using JBI kidney bean with coconut milk for about 10 years.
I enjoy using the JBI product. I love the green pigeon peas, especially on a Sunday when I have to cook that family meal. I've been using it now for a few years. My family love it, and we all enjoy it.
I normally make my own jerk, but this is the next best thing.
Try JBI.
And I want to wish you a happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, JBI.
Thank you, Bahamas.
Your business and communication with parents, students, and staff in seconds with a live business bulk SMS messaging. This is the perfect tool to keep you connected and easily send important updates, event reminders, and emergency alerts. Keep your campus informed and connected with bulk SMS messaging from a live business. The right choice for fast, reliable communication. For more information, contact the experts.
And welcome back. An absolutely beautiful shot of the sun. Wish we could see it right now. Set over Nassau Cruise Port. Steady drone shot. Looking at that there by drone pilot Neville Smith. Let's see right now what's happening for our Family Islands.
Family Island News is brought to you by Commonwealth Brewery Limited.
In a significant move to improve health care across the Family Islands, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, in collaboration with the Interdevelopmental Bank and the Royal Bahamas Defense Force, dispatched a fleet of ambulances to several islands. This initiative is part of a broader effort to strengthen emergency medical services and to ensure that residents of the less populated Family Islands receive timely medical care.
These ambulances will provide critical support for our emergency medical services in those communities, ensuring that we are able to respond to healthcare emergencies in the quickest time possible, really overcoming some of the problems that we have had historically.
Now, with the arrival of these ambulances, plans for ongoing training of medical personnel in the Family Islands is ongoing to ensure that they are prepared to handle emergency situations efficiently.
Of emergency vehicles have to be certified. We have on our staff an EVAC certified trainer who will be conducting training for the drivers of the ambulances that will be deployed throughout the Family Islands.
Additional ambulances will be sent to Cat Island, Long Island, Eleuthera, and San Salvador in the coming weeks.
Well, tonight we welcome two members of the St. Augustine's Alumni Ball Committee, Chairperson Lisa McCartney and Co-Chairperson Osborne Moxie, who is the Vice President, perhaps. Welcome to the Bahamas Tonight Access Now, the Big Red Machine.
It's wonderful to be here, LaDawn.
So tell us a little bit about the Alumni Ball. How did it all come about and what's expected at the ball this year?
Well, it started about 4 years ago when our past president, Sherelle, was interested in raising money to help with scholarships to go to SAC. One of the things she wanted to do was create an opportunity not only to give back in terms of scholarships, but also to reward and recognize those who had contributed to our community, who are honorees and persons who we would want to honor. And it was her idea, and we are just continuing it, and we're in our 4th year.
All right, and Osborne, how successful can you say the ball has been over the past 4 years, as Lisa had mentioned?
Oh, we've been very successful. We have been able to fulfill one of our core mantras, which is to provide scholarships to students, whether it's incoming students or students that currently attend St. Augustine's College, and helping out those needy persons, especially the families. Over the last couple of years, especially with COVID, we found that a lot of families, they weren't able to actually fulfill their obligations to the school with regard to school fees. And this was one of the ways that we were able to really give back, especially over the last couple of years. So we are not only the ball, we also have a number of other charitable activities that we undertake, just so that we're able to fulfill that core goal.
And Lisa, I guess you can answer this question. Who is actually being honored this time around?
Our alumnus of the year is Algernon Cargill. Our alumna of the year is Daphne Mialis. We also have our Dr. Linda Davis. We have persons like the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd, the Honorable Melanie Griffin. You also have persons like Brenda Knowles. We have Nicholas Rees. We have Dr. Dion Cunningham. There are 20 honorees in total that will be honored at this coming ball.
Why 20? Is that a significant number?
No, actually it's not. It's based on nominations, actually. Persons would nominate in the month of January, and then based on their nominations, then we would meet as an association. We would decide those persons that would get the honorees.
Osborne, I'll let you get in on this question. So tell us about some of the details of the ball. Where's it going to be? Which day is it going to be?
The ball will be at the Atlantis Hotel Ballroom, October 19th. And so just come out, you're going to have some fun. Essence Band will be there as well. Actually, for the first time ever, the Archbishop, he is actually the patron of the ball. And so we're really excited about this. And so we're just happy that everybody can come out and enjoy, and they just have a lot of fun.
All right, Lisa, Osborne, it's such a pleasure having you guys on the Bahamas Tonight Access Now. My mother is an alumni, SAC 1972, so all the best to you and your team as you celebrate St. Augustine's College. Thank you guys.
And just one more thing, LaDon, before you finish. They need to know where to get the tickets from.
Okay.
And so they can go on Mobile Assist or the SAC Alumni Association.org, and they can get tickets from there.
Thank you guys so much. Marcellus, what's coming up in sports?
Coming up in sports for tonight, Eleuthera once again taking center stage in softball. Details ahead in sports.
Fuel's the difference. Ruby's Ultra Tech in your car. Fill up with Ruby's Ultra Tech. Spend less and go far. Fuel up with Ruby's Ultra Tech. Get the most out every ride. Just watch your car perform with the best fuel inside. Fuel up with confidence in every mile. Get Ruby's Ultra Tech in your tank and drive with a smile. Watch your car perform with the best fuel inside. Fuel the difference with Ruby's Ultra Tech.
Hey, are you looking to save for a big purchase or occasion? Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Bond, the Bahamas Government Savings Bond, and I am guaranteed to earn interest on your money with terms ranging from 1 to 6 years. Government savings bonds are safe, and for as little as $100, you can start to save for your future. My name is Bond, the Bahamas Government Savings Bond, and I'm available to any Bahamian, guaranteed. Go to the Central Bank website and search savings bonds for more details.
I've been a J.S. Johnson customer for over 15 years. This was the first and only insurance company I've ever been with since I was a teen. And the reason I stayed is because they treat everyone like family, like literally. They greet you from the door, walk you inside. You can have a nice little conversation. They treat you like family. I love it. I would definitely recommend J.S. Johnson to anybody. J.S. Johnson, that's where it's at.
Welcome to your ZNS Total Sports Check, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. This past weekend, Eleuthera once again taking notice that they are still the softball capital of the Bahamas as they hosted an important tournament to get softball back on the map. Our Charles Fisher was there and has this report.
It was great to see softball in Eleuthera looking like the golden days when the island was once considered the softball capital of the Bahamas. What a show of talent with the Windermere Wonders and the Palmetto Point E&D Punishers, the top teams. They received their awards at the end of it all and happy to be crowned Eleuthera Softball Association champs. Team managers Philippa Kelly and Keyshawn Morley.
Absolutely amazing. We worked really hard throughout this entire season, and to come up as #1 is definitely an overwhelming feeling. So I'm really happy.
Just excited. Celebration still going to continue. I'm just glad that 2 of the titles of modified pitch was able to come south of Eleuthera, south of Savannah Song. Yeah, so just excited. I just want to commend the guys, commend the girls for the hard fight each and every night. We did our thing, and we showed out, and we represent South Eleuthera really well.
Wonders, first-time champs, and should be a proud bunch.
A lot of our players haven't played in a long time, but guess what? When I called, they showed up to the call. We have a very vibrant, strong team. Some of them are experienced. They've been in the field for a very long time, but they've been out sitting on the bench. But to see them come up to the plate right now and #1, we're really happy about it.
And speaking about coming up to the plate, the Punishers, just about everyone from 1 to 9 able to hit the ball out of the park. A sure show of strength. And yes, they were able to beat the top teams out of New Providence, not only once, but twice.
Every single day, every single night, we come out there and we play and we give our best. I just got one word to describe them as warriors. Warriors each and every night. No matter the situation, no matter if we down 10 starters, we come out each and every night and we play hard. And I think we deserve this. We deserve this, and we're going to celebrate the win along with the Windermere Wonders 2.0. We got to have a good time.
ESA President Brian Ninjanilli elated with the amount of young, raw talent on the island and excited about what's to come.
You see the talent of the girls we have there, and the young men, where all the talents one time ago was in the north. Now it's switched, like most of the good talent is in the south, where these guys play slow pitch and modified pitch now. They can play fast pitch because a few of them in Savannah Song are going to play the fast pitch game, and they're going to mix up with the 3 teams to see if we could get this league up and running.
Great weekend of softball and talent on display. For ZNS Total Sports, I'm Charles Fisher.
And that's it. You look at sports for you here this Tuesday. Our Tuesday weather outlook just ahead. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Brent Burrows, Vice President of Retail and Sales at CBS Bahamas and the CBS Pro Store. Not only do we guarantee the best prices on all your favorite building materials, but we're proud to offer the best delivery program in all of Nassau. Whether you buy 1 box of screws or a truckload of plywood, island-wide delivery is just $5. And for our Family Island customers, we're proud to offer complimentary drop-off to the mailboat of your choice. Visit us today at the CBS Pro Store on Robinson Road and check out our website to set up your next delivery.
Are you ready? Keep the vibe alive. Music Group, along with Alpha Sounds, present the best of the best. Rake and Scrape Explosion Reloaded. This is the biggest one-day all-Bahamian concert of the year. Featuring KB, D-Mac, Abby, Mama D, Fan Sean, Shine 242, The Falcon, and more. Mark your calendars. It's going down November the 2nd at Super Club Brazos Ground. Tickets now available at BahamasEtickets.com or both Beauty Shack locations. General admission $60. VIP, Skybox, and Skypods also available. For more info, call 394-0819 or email keepthevibealive242@gmail.com. Experience the magic once again with more legends for one night only. Come party with us November 2nd at Best of the Best. Rake and Scrape Explosion Reloaded.
It's time now for your Access weather forecast, and Milton continues to fluctuate in intensities, now back up to 165 miles per hour, making it a Category 5 hurricane as it takes aim for the west coast of Florida. As you can see on our live weather radar, well-defined eye, indicative of that intense wind field there, and you can see also some thunderstorm activity taking place near the eye wall as well. And this system is expected to make landfall sometime during the early morning of Thursday. And boating forecast tonight, well, it's brought to you by Live Business, where you're always protected during the worst storms. In the northwestern parts of our country through Wednesday, southwest to west winds, those winds will be increasing 15 to 20 knots, wave height building 4 to 7 feet over the ocean, so we'll put caution flags in place later on tonight for you boaters in the northwest Bahamas. Now, your high tide, that will take place at 14 minutes past midnight. Your low tide taking place at 6:76 tomorrow morning. And for the central and southeastern parts of our country, winds will be out of the southwest, not too bad, 10 to 15 knots, but that will change. 2 to 4 feet would be those wave heights. And as we roll into Thursday, and this is when Milton will be at its closest point to the Bahamas, we will see south to southwest winds, 20 to 30 knots. They'll be gusting up to 40 knots at times. Very, very rough sea conditions at 8 to 12 feet over the ocean. So on Thursday, we're simply asking small craft to stay in port. Now, your low tide will take place at 7:13 in the morning with a high tide at 1:50 in the afternoon. And for the central and southeastern islands on Thursday, south to southwest winds also increasing in the central and southeastern islands to caution levels, 15 to 20 knots, very rough seas at 4 to 7 feet over the ocean. And that's going to do it for your boating forecast. It's time now for your international temperatures, and they're brought to you by Royal Star Assurance.
All day I've been over these little baby kids. And he be doing it. Well, anyway, I gonna fall down the road to see the tree down. This place down the road. And if he down there, there gonna be some problems. But guess what? I got a headache and I tight mind. Every other night, Andrew would call round.
And that's going to do it for your international temperatures, brought to you by Royal Star Assurance. But join me at 11 for a complete weather forecast.
All right, thanks a lot, Basil. Looks like more rain, LaDonna. I was saying I need to drink more water, but it looked like somebody got the message wrong. They said drive through the water instead, so it's been crazy.
And, you know, we really have to pray for our neighbors in the north and that there's no loss of life and no injuries during Hurricane Milton. But we're now going to turn things over to Matea Cunningham with Let's Talk Socials.
Welcome back to Let's Talk So. Hurricane winds, am I right? Anywho, I'm Matea, and welcome back to Let's Talk Socials. Now, as we all know, it's still hurricane season here in the Bahamas, and our neighbors in Florida are feeling the effects heavily. Between the outskirts of Hurricane Helene and the newly formed Category 4 Hurricane Milton, Floridians are worried. Some, though, cope with their fears a little differently. Some choose to laugh it away. At least these users anyway. Take a look at these social media users who decided to get a laugh out of their unfortunate realities.
Frosty cray, yeah. Pizza is the pizza, yeah, for you.
It's safe to say most Floridians have a sense of humor. Let's be honest. Most of us can relate to that Mexican mom using the rain to clean her furniture. All jokes aside, let's ensure we're making the necessary preparations this hurricane season. Vote in our polls tonight. Have you begun making necessary hurricane preparations? I'm Matea, and this has been Let's Talk Socials.
Let's Talk Socials indeed. Good job, Matea. That's a wrap for us tonight, LaDonna.
It sure is, Marstellus. Stay tuned, though, for the rundown with Clint Watson live from Grand Bahama. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
At Centerville, I'm LaDawn Davis. This is ZNS.
The Rundown is brought to you by Commonwealth Brewery Limited.
Good evening and welcome to the show. Coming to you from Grand Bahama. We're here all week. It's great to have all of you joining us. Well, if it's one island that knows how to handle bad weather, it's the island of Grand Bahama. With decades of navigating some of the worst storms, hurricane season brings out the painstaking memories of the devastation that residents here have witnessed. It's a bit of mixed emotions here on the island. While residents are pretty much happy they won't experience the wrath of Hurricane Milton, for some it's too close for comfort. Not to worry though, we will get you through the next day and a half of bad weather until this storm is no longer near anyone or threat to anyone. Preparation, however, though, is key. And while we believe that we won't suffer any severe blow, it's a great exercise, at best, pretty much, it's a great exercise in preparedness. Tonight, we check all the boxes to ensure the machinery is working for this and future threats. But first, obviously, things are taking place throughout Grand Bahama. Residents are preparing for any kind of weather systems. And our news team is out and about to speak to them today. Here's Cleopatra Murphy with that story.
Get prepared. I think that it's a dangerous one.
As Hurricane Milton barrels towards Florida, expected to bring with it deadly storm surge of up to 20 feet. Although not directly in its path, Grand Bahamians are in full preparation mode, having learned valuable lessons from Hurricane Dorian.
Persons are taking the storm with a bit of caution. I don't know how overreactive they are, but they are showing some sign of caution. They're picking up basic hurricane items. This has been going on basically from the hurricane season, but within the last 2 days, we have seen an uptick in person shopping for hurricane supplies.
At Dolly Madison Home Center, General Manager James Rowe says items like batteries, flashlights, fuel canisters, portable stoves, tarps, and other essentials are flying off the shelves as business has seen a boost due to Hurricane Milton. Florida resident Lou DiMartino will ride out the rough seas on his boat with family, but has stocked up on food and other supplies. Not overly concerned, he still offers this advice.
No point in staying if it's going to be a dangerous storm. Just get out. There's nothing worth, risking your life over, Otherwise, just do the normal prep, and stay home is sometimes safer.
After having experienced the terror of Hurricane Dorian, Christine Flowers takes nothing for granted and encourages others to be proactive.
It's serious because you don't know what's going to happen. Get your stuff ready. Don't wait too late.
Another resident, Alfred Smith, who stopped for a portable stove, says he is actively monitoring the storm.
You got to always take precaution and be concerned because it can shift at any given time based on the atmospheric conditions. So you got to be ready for it.
As Milton gets closer to landfall in Florida, Smith says Grand Bahamians are all too aware of the devastating impact of hurricanes, having weathered Dorian, and are far from complacent.
They know exactly what a hurricane can do, and so I think they're more aware and they're more conscious of the dangers of such events. And so they are really, whenever there's a caution out there, they've really taken the necessary step to be prepared.
Grand Bahama expects to experience wind and heavy rain associated with Hurricane Milton, and while not expected to get a direct hit, officials advise, prepare in advance, and continue to monitor the storm. For the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, I'm Cleopatra Murphy.
All right, we have all the experts here tonight to talk to us and take us through what's happening to ensure that people get through even these kinds of weather systems and to make sure that people know exactly what they should be doing. We're going to talk to the experts right after the break, so stay with us. You're watching The Rundown here from Grand Bahama. We're back after this.
JBI, lemon and lime.
One of the best products you can find anywhere. This is one of my favorites, and I have lots of favorites at JBI.
This is very rich.
I put this in everything, whether I'm baking, whether I'm doing peas and rice, coconut and rice, or you're doing some curry and you want your cream to be in your curry, you could do everything with that.
Oh, I love this with my nice lime. It goes with my tuna salad. When I put that lime and that great food, spicy food I love. So try JBI, lemon and lime.
Try JBI. Happy anniversary to JBI.
JBI to the world.
Thank you, Bahamas.
We're coming for y'all again.
Are you ready for the hottest sports show on the market? It's called The Timeout. Sundays on the ZNS television network. In our first show, 4 decades of sports in the country.
Welcome to the Rundown. We're coming to you from Grand Bahama tonight, and it's so good to have all of you who are joining with us. I see those of you who are in the Lion's Den and joining us on YouTube as well. Thank you for being here with us, and we're seeing all of your comments and your questions and concerns. You would have heard earlier tonight, obviously, the Prime Minister would have just addressed the nation, talking about preparedness. Really, that's the bottom line here. It's not to invoke fear or invoke panic or alarm, but simply just to ensure we're prepared. And like I said before, if at best this is just a preparation test, and to make sure that you know what to happen in the eventuality we are facing a direct hit of a storm, you would know what to do, and you're making sure that you have things in place. We're still in the hurricane season, and yes, it's still peak as we move out of the peak season into what we call the latter part of the hurricane season. It's still important to be prepared because it just takes one storm. And if you're not prepared for it, then it could be devastating to you. But again, we're not here to bring panic. Not here to get people concerned overly, but just ensure that you are prepared and that you can navigate through the next few days of weather that you're expected to have, and then we'll all be able to breathe a sigh of relief on the other side 2 days from now when it's all done and gone with. And our prayers, of course, obviously go to the people in South Florida and in Florida who are going to experience the brunt of this storm. Our hearts and prayers are with them. I want to get into now talking about what's happening here on the island in the Northern Bahamas as far as preparation. These people here know how to prepare. They've been through the worst of it, and so now they know how to be prepared and what should be happening and what to get in place. I want to introduce them, of course, Grand Bahama Island Administrator Kenwood Cartwright and Tammy Mitchell from Disaster Management Unit in the Ministry for Grand Bahama. Welcome to the Rundown. Great to have both of you here with us.
Thanks for having us.
I want to begin, obviously, talking about your roles during the storm, because people obviously want to know, okay, we know the DRM is there, we know the Ministry of Grand Bahama is there, we know island administrators are there. How do you coordinate what it is that you do, and what is it that you try to seek to do whenever there's a threat of severe weather?
Well, as the island administrator, I am the chairman for the Disaster Risk Management Consultative Committee.
Oh, so it falls on your shoulder.
Falls on my shoulder. And so that committee is made up of what we call emergency support functions, which of course are represented by various government agencies and departments. Those agencies and departments bring their expertise, they bring their resources, and we come together to prepare in the coming months for any hurricane or any disaster that we may face. When it comes to a time like this, we do what we call activating the EOC. And we have a representative from each of those support functions to come sit on the EOC so that we could best discuss, plan according to what's happening currently, whether it be to make calls such as activating shelters, whether we need to help with assistance with removing elderly persons to get them where they need to be. And so we activate so that we could make the best decisions for those concerned at that time.
So you don't just come together because there's a threat now. This is something that's ongoing through the hurricane season.
Ongoing. Every last Monday of each month, we get together. In terms of a hurricane or a disaster or threat, then we call a meeting, and we get together much sooner than that anticipated monthly meeting. And what I could say about being in Freeport, we come together as a group. Everyone has learned from past experiences. Sometimes it gets little draining mentally because when person's in planning, you have to think back some of the experiences that you already went through. But I think we've learned and we came together and we overcame a lot of obstacles that we would have faced before. And I see that we are on the correct path and we seem to be better prepared than we would have been prepared at previous times.
Terry Mitchell, let's talk about the role of Disaster Management Unit in Ministry for Grand Bahama. How do you function and what is the purpose of it?
Okay, well, my role with now with Ministry for Grand Bahama, I actually worked for NEMA in my past. I was actually the supplies officer here for the last 5 years plus. And now with the Ministry for Grand Bahama, it's given me the opportunity to now expand that role to assist the island administrators as well as all of the emergency support function groups, the private and the public sector, not only with emergency response preparations, but also training and also any of their needs, even if it means as simple as updating their emergency response plans. So I actually play that key role as a certified instructor as well. So I'm able to teach a lot of the courses as well and help everybody on the island, not just in Grand Bahama, but throughout the Bahamas in preparation, mitigation, and response activities.
I know there are different levels of emergency plans activation. Where are we now with this particular storm and the impacts that it could have? How are we activated?
Well, we started this morning partially activated, which means that only certain emergency support functions had to report to the EOC. At this point, we are fully activated, but we're fully activated just for monitoring purposes. And so currently in the Operations Center, we have representatives from most of the ESFs already here, just collaborating to see what needs to happen as we work with the Met Office and the DRM Authority to make sure we get all the information and to make the best decisions for Grand Bahamians.
Let's talk about the preparation that's taking place now for Tropical Storm Milton. And we call it Tropical Storm Milton because at worst, you expected tropical storm conditions, not hurricane conditions for the northern Bahamas. And that's why it's referred to as Tropical Storm Milton, even though it's a hurricane.
Right. Yeah, well, some of the key things that we're doing now, as the administrator mentioned, we're identifying the shelters that would possibly be open. We're ensuring that all of the emergency support function groups have activated their plans to some level, because even though we come as one body, you know, every entity has its own emergency response plan. So it's calling their team members together to say, hey, we're now fully activated. Who is assigned to the Emergency Operations Center? Who is going to be on rotation? Who is going to be posted, for example, with the Defense Force with their officers? Who's going to be posted at the shelters? Who from the Public Hospital Authority? So we're calling everybody in now and asking them to provide us with that information so we know who to directly reach out to. Same thing with the utility services, particularly here in Grand Bahama. We've already received our reports from the utility companies as well as the power company that, you know, what their plans are in terms of there's no planned shutdowns, but, you know, particularly if winds get at a certain speed for the safety of the equipment, they will do what they have to do. But until they advise the committee or the EOC as it's activated, then we don't put out anything until they tell us. So it's important. The main thing is sharing of information and just asking everybody to remain calm and follow your emergency procedures.
Again, it's important to help people understand. These things are being put in place not because they anticipate that there would be a need for it, but in the event there is, it's already in place and already activated. So we're not saying that you're going to need to leave your home and evacuate. We're saying in the event that something happens and there's flooding, you have some place to go to. So don't get alarmed and say, oh Lord, they have shelters over, we got to pack up and leave. No, we're just saying that in the event, because no one can predict Mother Nature, that there's flooding in your particular area and it gets to a point where you believe you need to leave home, there is some place to go. Doesn't mean you have to go there unless there is a need to move out. Same thing for the emergency shutdowns, electricity. Doesn't mean electricity is going off, right? At least not on its own. What it means is that if there's a need because of high winds to control so we don't lose the power connectivity, they may turn it off as a precaution. Doesn't mean it's going to go off. Just means in the event. So pretty much what you're doing is setting in place and activating to ensure that there is support should there be a need to access those services, that they are actually there.
Yes, and like we said earlier, it's monitoring what's going on and making the preparations available so that the island of Grand Bahama and its residents will know exactly step by step what it is that needs to be done. And even with the Ministry for Grand Bahama, a lot of our information, just as well, we're sharing it on the Facebook pages, so the Ministry for Grand Bahama has that uploaded. And we're tying in into all of the networks from the Met Office and also, as well as, of course, ZNS. So we rely on you to assist us, as you're doing now, with getting the information out to the general public.
Obviously, people ought to know what to do in this hurricane season. This should not be new talk. No. And I always tell people, you don't have to panic when you hear there's bad weather coming, because these are just things that we keep reminding people you ought to have in place whenever you're in hurricane season. You cannot take it for granted. We live in the hurricane belt, and while we have great weather, this is what happens during hurricane season. There's a potential that you could have some bad weather that could have adverse effects. Some people may go through an actual hurricane and never receive damage, and go through a regular bad weather night and have flooding when nobody else is having any kind of conditions. So it's unpredictable as to how it can impact you. And that's why the watchword is always preparation. Right. Be prepared. Make sure that you know what you have to do. If you have to do something, make sure you have the necessary tools in place, because we don't want payments to do what you like to cry and say, no one told us. They didn't warn us. They didn't prepare us. And that's why we're making sure the efforts are put in place so that you can say, okay, I'm aware of what's happening. I know how to navigate doing that. Now, of course, the concern is always residents in low-lying areas. What is your advice to those persons?
Well, definitely with residents in low-lying areas, that's the primary ones that we're actually looking at, because based on the weather report, we would have already identified all of the flood zones on the island, and particularly the ones that may be hardest hit. So we have advised them to take the necessary precautions, whether it's getting sandbags or making sure your home area is clear from debris so that it doesn't hamper any of your evacuation efforts. We've asked them to, if they know for sure that they can't stay in the home, this is where you now seek shelter with family members or friends, or if the shelter is activated, then this is where you go. But take all of the necessary precautions that everybody should know by now, that where you live. Right. Because I mean, I've worked every hurricane since Floyd in '99 to Dorian. And I can tell you, I've seen all of the changes on the island of Grand Bahama. So basically, we know, and we try to advise them, do and take the necessary precautions.
Inspection of shelters. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on, and do we have shelters activated and where? Well,
the shelter inspection is a very good process that happens. It is important to us that we make sure that the shelters are safe before we allow them to be used by the general public. So in Grand Bahama and in Freeport especially, there's a team of technical experts put together with representatives from the Ministry of Works, Ministry of Social Services, who has responsibility for shelters. There's also environmental health. There's the technical team of the Port Authority that also assists. Myself as the administrator.
As you can see, we have up right now the Grand Bahama shelter list, so as you're talking, people can see what are the shelters that are official shelter lists that should be activated. Now, all of those going to be activated?
No.
Okay.
No. So we identify them in levels, which would need to be activated first, and some of them are only activated after a hurricane. So they're not all activated for during a hurricane, but should that shelter remain safe and practical for use after a hurricane, you may have where one shelter that was used during the hurricane is overcrowded, and so after a hurricane and it's safe, even though that particular shelter would have not passed inspections for use during the hurricane, we can now ask some of these persons to relocate to that shelter, which could now house them after hurricane conditions.
Do you have what you're going to, are any of them activated in the event people need them? Which ones, do you know which ones are activated? Go ahead and tell us those.
Yeah, they've been identified by the Department of Social Services, and we can briefly give you the names. And again, they've been identified, and if there is a need, then Social Services will kick in. But the first one that we would have is the Foster B. Pestana Center, which is a special needs shelter where all of those persons will go. We have the Maurice Moore Primary School, which is designated for all of the residents of East End, Grand Bahama, the St. George's High School Gymnasium, and also the Bishop Michael Eldon School. And then in the 8 Mile Rock area, we have the 8 Mile Rock High School gym, which houses about 450 to 500 persons. So those are the ones that have been designated by the Department of Social Services.
All right. I want to talk about what should be in the shelter kit, and so we'll take on that. I think people want to know what they should have, not shelter kits, sorry, hurricane kits, what you should have in your hurricane kit and in your arsenal, because we do have a picture, and I want to be able to say exactly what we have in the kit. Should we go to that? Let's go to that now. It's up now. These are supplies that should have. Talk to us a little bit about the hurricane kit, because this is what you should have throughout the hurricane season, right? And why are these items important? Obviously, the emergency items are there as to what you should have. The first aid in case you're injured. Food items that should have. Things for your pet, accessories, and of course, paperwork that you should keep. Just briefly talk to us about the importance of this hurricane kit, because there's a lot of items on that. People ought to keep this. Talk to us about that.
Well, food is a given. You must take with you to the shelter food and water to sustain yourself and any family members that you may have with you. If you have the means, you should carry extra to help support others that may not have the means. Of course, with the emergency kit, flashlights, etc., should the power go off, should the generator fail, you would want to know that you're able to see your way around for your own safety protection. There have been times when you would have had to evacuate from a shelter. If you have to evacuate from a shelter, then you need to have your gear so that when you're out there, you could guide yourself, guide your family to give assistance. Obviously, first aid, should the need arise, there's any cuts, you know, when you're in places where there are extra persons around, moving about, sometimes things mistakenly happen, kids are running up and down. You want the well-being of everyone to be accounted for. Of course, social service will be there to provide assistance, as well as officers from the Royal Bahamas Defense Force will be there to provide assistance. But as best as possible, I didn't mention medication. If you need a certain medication, please take your medication with you. Medication is important. The life you save might be yours. It's not a practice of those that manage the shelters to distribute medication for obvious health reasons and stuff like that. And so we ask persons as best as possible, travel with your own medication. Pets, there's still an issue with pet-friendly shelters. That's something that we're working towards, but we aren't directly there yet. And so we ask persons with pets, if you have a relative that may not have to evacuate their homes, if they're able to keep their pet for you. And sometimes even when you're talking about evacuating, there's not always a designated shelter you have to go to. You could shelter with loved ones. You could shelter with friends as an option as well.
All right. Well, I think we're going to put up an emergency number in case people need to have the number to call. The number is on your screen in the event of an emergency. It's right there. It's 351-4902 or 351-4903, and that goes to Grand Bahama Emergency Operations Center, which is indeed activated. And again, we say all of this is precaution. We're not saying that we're going to need it, but in the event you do, it's better to be safe than absolutely sorry. All right, and also for you to know that frequent power outages remain a serious challenge on Grand Bahama Island, and one that is a major concern for many residents and businesses. And of course, when we come back, we will have two community activists who are here to voice their concern on the frequent power outages that Grand Bahama has experienced for the past several months. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, and we're back after this. Stay with us.
What I don't need all that bread, that don't make us show. Yeah, I like to be Beginning Monday, September 16th, it's the new lineup of ZNS News and Current Affairs. 6 p.m. It's What's Trending. Lifestyles in the afternoon with Stacey Campbell Marshall. 6:30. We head to the north for the Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition. 7 p.m. It's the Bahamas Tonight National Report, followed by the Bahamas Tonight Access. Now at 7:30. Then at 8 p.m., your nightly news analysis show, The Rundown, with Clint Watson. And 11 p.m., the Bahamas Tonight at 11 with Royston Jones. It's a full lineup of the new ZNS. And it starts Monday, September 16th. Only the sun covers the Bahamas better.
Grand Bahama, Sunday, October 13th. Due to the logistics and unstable weather pattern, we had to take it inside the Grand Lacan Ballroom. I'm a boatman. I'm a boatman. Featuring KB, Gino D, Nishi LS, T-Mac, Sweet Emily, Elon Moxie, Funky T, Lil Joe Cartwright, Sherrod Taylor, Wilfred Solomon, Veronica Bishop, Stevie S, Mama D, Colin McDonald, Papa Smurf, Shine 242, Recon Bahamas, Shad Golly and the VIP. Special guest from Turks and Caicos, the Provision Band, and host Super P. Sunday, October 13th at the Grand Lacan Ballroom. Doors open at 6 p.m., showtime at 8 p.m. Admission $60. Tickets are available now at Pennyworth, Brenda's Booth, Coffees on the Bay, Gizmos and Gadgets, and Signature Choices. For more info, phone 819-2233 Bahamas and 649-231-0018. TCI. I'm a boatman. Sunday, October 13th at the Grand Lacan Ballroom. Katie and Fred. Sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry for Grand Bahama, and Extreme Auto.
Welcome back to the Rundown from Grand Bahama. It's so good to have all of you online. We see you joining us and giving your input. We're going to switch a bit to a different topic, but I still think it affects what we've been talking about here tonight. Residents and business owners on Grand Bahama say they're fed up with the frequent power outages that have plagued the island for the past several months. Tonight, Ramiko Knowles speaks with residents and business owners as they say enough is enough.
Just like that, blackouts have returned into Grand Bahama. The power outages come just 2 weeks after consumers were assured by the Grand Bahama Power Company that they would no longer experience service interruptions. In a statement issued on September 10th, GBPC officials said, "We do not foresee interruptions of service as we have added 7 new temporary generators to our fleet and returned a unit to service." However, on Tuesday, September 24th, customers were shocked when the power went out unexpectedly. Frustrated residents quickly took to GBPC's Facebook page to express their discontent. One user commented, "So what happened to the 7 generators added to y'all's fleet?" Another shared, "15 minutes after I came from the plantation work, the power went off. Sigh, tired, hot, and hungry." A third user raised a key question: why are the temporary rental generators still temporary? When can we expect a permanent solution? Please advise your customers. As the power outages continue, residents are left with more questions than answers. And one thing remains clear: they are exhausted.
All of this culminate to say, hey, they're just taking advantage of all of us.
It has now been 72 hours of isolated blackouts, and questions remain about whether this situation will continue and how long it will last. Meanwhile, there has been no response from the Grand Bahama Port Authority or the Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, both who claim to be the city's regulators. In fact, the most recent communication from the port was regarding the completion of GBPC's rate plan proposal, which is currently seeking stakeholder input. The consultation period will conclude on November 4th, with a final decision anticipated by December 2nd of this year. However, for many residents, the answer is already clear.
They're not being held accountable at this time for all the power outages, and then the power bills is extremely high at this period.
ZNS News reached out to GBPC for an official response regarding the ongoing outages, but company representatives indicated that no one is available for comment. When asked if a statement would be issued to explain the reasons behind the outages, we were informed that none would be provided at this time. Attorney Park O'Deal remarking that the company's behavior is blatantly disrespectful and demonstrates a clear disregard for its clients.
I think that's a total abuse of power, and that's a result of having a monopoly, which we feel adamantly that that monopoly is expired and it should be taken away.
Thank you for that story, Ramiko. And of course, it obviously experiences and it demonstrates the frustration of residents who continue to deal with it. I want to bring in my guests now to talk more about this. Of course, Coalition of Concerned Citizens, Eddie Victor and Daquan Swain, who's been an activist and been speaking on this issue for quite a long time. Gentlemen, welcome to the Rundown. It's good to have both of you here.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
Listen, I come from the capital where we've had our share of power outages and how frustrating it can be. And it was one thing we thought Grand Bahama pride itself in is having reliable power. But there seems to obviously be challenges with the company recently that it seems to be unreliable. The times I've been here, it's on, and then it's off, and then it's on, and then it's off. Let's start back to the issue. You've been speaking about this, Pastor Victor. Let's start with you for some time now,
yes.
And still no relief. Talk to us about this fight.
Well, the thing is, our coalition, we began our campaign to lower the cost of electricity on this island in 2013. So we've been at it for 11 years. In fact, we have a Facebook page called Lower the Cost of Power, Grand Bahama. Wow. And everything we've done over the years, you can find it there. And it is not just the problem now of the power outages and these blackouts that we've been having and load shedding. But what we have is we have the highest electricity base rate cost in the Bahamas. Yeah. We also have an unstable delivery of power. When I'm talking about that, is that the current coming to the customers is not stable. This instability causes clocks to speed up, electric clocks. Wow. The clocks on your stove, the clocks on your microwave. It's been unstable, and now we have unreliable power. So this has been all of this happened over years. And so when you look at this situation now that we're faced with the power outages and the load shedding, what you have to realize is that years ago, Grand Bahama Power Company was generating more electricity years ago than what they're generating now. And so you have to ask yourself, well, if they were generating more electricity in the past, how come when they're generating less, they're having so much problems? The only thing that you can truly conclude is that over the years, the company has made a series of bad management decisions that has led to a catastrophic failure of the power generation at the plant. Right now, the last report we have, the power company owns 9 generators, only 5 are working.
Wow, that's a lot. That's out.
Yeah, only 5 are working, so 4 are out. And you have to also look at this. If you're generating less electricity and you have 2 solar farms connected to the grid, and you are having this catastrophic failure,
then it got to be something else.
You see, we got serious problems.
I don't bring in Daquan here because obviously you've been advocating for this long before many people jumped on the bandwagon. Right. And I guess the concern now is that persons are paying for a certain level of supply, but when you look at what's happening, it's not coming back, as he would have said, to the consumer. And in fact, not just coming back to the consumer, but a lot of what they say you are paying for is to improve the service, right? They said you were paying for, we had to replace all of these grids and replace power poles after the last storms. And so this is gonna allow us to be able to deliver top-notch service to you, and then you won't have to pay that price anymore. But we're seeing constantly that while you're still paying for the demand, you're not getting that service. What say you about that?
Yep, you're absolutely right. And, just to even piggyback off what Pastor Victor said, what we're experiencing right now in Grand Bahama is a company that is making bad decisions, and every bad decision that they make, we pay for it. So we pay for incompetence. So every time that they make a mistake, they offload, because what we have to remember is the operational expenses that that company face, they add those into the base rate that we pay. And if we actually look at the summary of what they released for the proposed rate increase, they want to now pass on more costs that they want to recoup in the fuel charge now. So they don't only want to charge you in the base rate, they want to now also charge you in the fuel charge. So if we go back, the Grand Bahama Power Company is supposed to be supplying 98 megawatts. 98 megawatts. Right now, we're operating at less than 50%. And half of that 50% is supplemental power, meaning rented generators. So that now means the operational cost to pay to rent those machines, the fuel cost to run those rented generators. We now have to bear that cost. And all of this is a result of failed maintenance. They weren't maintaining the machines, the generators how they're supposed to. They weren't doing proper maintenance on their generational plants. So now, because of that, they're in a situation that they can't admit where the machines and the generators are beyond repair. So every couple of weeks, they're gonna go down. And they can't admit that because the last rate increase is when they were supposed to fix these issues. And the rate increase before that was when they were supposed to purchase new generators that's supposed to last 25 years.
So in your view, the rate increases they're not living up to the response of these rate increases. You increase it to make it better, but instead of making it better, it's becoming more dysfunctional than before. I want to find out, what is the medium ground as far as solution to this issue? Because yes, you can protest. Yes, you can object. But at the end of the day, does it change? What is required to bring change, and how will you press to ensure change? Pastor Victor?
Well, what has to happen is that the whole business model operation of the power plant has to change. See, right now they're operating, well, it's important for us to say this. Our power company is owned 100% by a Canadian company called Emera. That company is more concerned about their profits than providing the proper service that's required to electricity customers. So their decisions are based on their corporate projections. Whereas the model that's needed here is one that we would call a municipal/partnership. We need a municipality approach to power generation on the island, where the decisions are made on what's in the best interest of the residential customers as well as the business customers. But when you have a company that has to satisfy shareholders, and most of those shareholders are in other countries, they're not Bahamian shareholders. It's important to mention the plant, the transmission and distribution equipment is not owned by the Bahamian people.
Wow.
It's owned by a foreign company. And their decisions are based on profits. They got projections. We are aware of projections that they have shared in public meetings where they project to make X amount of profits this year, they're going to make X amount of profits in the next year. And how do they maintain that? They need to increase the base rates. But we believe, like so many others on this island, the solution for power generation for Grand Bahama is to bring the rates down to make this place attractive for people to come to this island and become a destination that will be known as we have low, affordable, reliable power.
So, Jaquan, I guess you can take this one. Are there any recourse for consumers? For example, do they say, okay, because we're having challenges and we're not being able to deliver, if you're late 1 month and we give you a pass, we won't disconnect you? Are you seeing the trade-off? Are they slower to disconnections? Is there any rebate for consumers? Or is it straight up, pay us what you owe us no matter what, and we continue to do what we do?
Well, the basic answer to that question is simply no. There is no form of compensation for customers who are inexperienced, for business owners who are inconvenienced. You have so much business owners who complain about reduced power. They can't cut on their computers. They can't work their POS system. So, no one repays them for that. And I haven't seen up to the time we came in this newsroom of them introducing or announcing any type of rebate program for Grand Bahamians. And, it's funny that we even talk about that because they aren't. It's a stretch to even go there, is how I'll word it, because those who have appliances that are messed up, they have these creative ways and these loopholes, like the insurance companies, to not pay you for even the things that they mess up. So even before we even talk about compensation for what they are not doing, they don't even want to pay you for the things that they messed up that belong to you.
So the consumer just left there hoping and praying for somebody to come in and be the go-between and cause delivery. I can't imagine a power company responsible for these outages that take place like this, and it totally demolishes or destroys your appliances, and then there's no plan in place to say, listen, and they make it so difficult legally to be able to even win a case if you apply for something that it seems almost impossible.
But you know, it's important to add that because of their customer service policy when it comes to replacing appliances and equipment, there's been a number of particularly business customers that have had to take them to court. And they have won, right? But one company on this island lost over $20,000 worth of equipment because of the unstable nature of the electricity. And they had to take this matter to court in Nassau, and they won the court case.
Wow. Wow. It'll be interesting to see what pans out. People obviously want to know that there's transparency and recourse. We'll talk more about that when we come back from the break and talk more about the accountability and transparency part of it, as well as the impact on businesses, and we'll see what happens. When we come back, we'll speak with these community activists about their thoughts on the Grand Bahama Port Authority's announcement of suspend GBPC's rate application review. We'll talk about that. You're watching The Rundown from Grand Bahama. Stay with us. We're back after this.
Well, what about me? What about you, what? Well, I thirsty too, you know. You want to see all the water out there? Well, why you don't give me your water, and then you go try and drink that salt water? You crazy, eh? I ain't the one talking to a dog, you know. Ain't nobody can drink salt water. Then why you won't give it to me? All dogs need fresh, cool water and sufficient shelter from the sun all year round, especially on the beach and during the hot summer months.
Summers are very hot here in the Bahamas, so please make sure all pets have ample, cool, fresh water in proper containers and sufficient shelter from the sun, even on the beach. And make sure all dog houses and kennels have proper ventilation. Let's make it Bahamian to be humane.
This message has been brought to you by the Bahamas Humane Society and the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
Is the Little Caesars Stuffed Crust Pizza. Get more pizza for less money. Only $12. It's a whole new level of pizza with cheese stuffed crust so spectacular that there's nothing left.
Pizza.
A delicious pepperoni pizza with the crust stuffed with lots of cheese and brushed with butter and garlic flavor and sprinkled with Parmesan cheese. Hot and ready Thursday to Saturday between 4 and 8 for only $12. Simply irresistible. And only at Little Caesars.
Pizza.
Grand Bahama, Sunday, October 13th. Due to the logistics and unstable weather pattern, we had to take it inside the Grand Kind Ballroom. I'm a boatman. Featuring KB, Gino D, Nishi LS, T-Mac, Sweet Emily, Elon Moxie, Funky T, Lil Joe Cartwright, Sherrod Taylor, Wilfred Solomon, Veronica Bishop, Stevie S, Mama D, Colin McDonald, Papa Smurf, Shine 242, Recon Bahamas, Chad Golly and the VIP, special guest from Turks and Caicos, the Provision Band, and host Super P. Sunday, October 13th at the Grand Kind Ballroom. Doors open at 6 p.m. Showtime at 8 p.m. Admission $60. Tickets are available now at Pennyworth, Brenda's Booth, Coffees on the Bay, Gizmos and Gadgets, and Signature Choices. For more info, phone 819-2233 Bahamas and 649-231-0018. TCI. I'm a boatman. Sunday, October 13th at the Grand Kind Ballroom. KB and Fred.
Sponsored by the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry for Grand Bahama, and Extreme Auto.
Welcome back to The Rundown, coming to you from Grand Bahama. And of course, a special good night to all of you in the Lion's Den. And of course, tuning into us by social media and YouTube. We see you on there and your comments and suggestions and so forth. And we're talking about Grand Bahama Power Company. I want to say before we continue, because we do invite people to come and give their views. We did invite the Grand Bahama Power Company to tonight's show. However, they've declined, citing that the company is currently in hurricane preparation mode. How convenient. That was their answer. That's their answer. We will go with that. So, gentlemen, let's bring it back in to Quan Swain and, of course, Pastor Eddie Victor, who have been persons who've been trying to keep the power company's feet to the fire, right, about what was going on. Before we get into the fact that they suspended this rate increase they were looking for, at least the Grand Bahama Port Authority suspended the go-ahead on it. Let's talk about really how this impacts. We'll talk about businesses first of all, because we already know the businesses are trying their best to survive in this environment where it's tough. There are enormous fees on Grand Bahama for business owners, and of course you're fighting an economy that's coming back, but there's still challenges. How does this power and reliability impact the companies like businesses? How are they facing it? Let's start with you, Daquan.
Well, I'll even say this. It's already extremely hard to have and operate a business in Grand Bahama. The economy is already challenged. And people and business owners were already challenged with high electricity bills. So now they have not only high electricity bills, but they now have inconsistent power supply. So at the end of the month, they look forward to an extremely high bill, but throughout the month, they now have to figure out when can we even operate, because you don't even know if you're gonna open your doors and an hour later, the power is gonna be off. Or you have those business owners who are to work, they're paying employees to be to work, but the employees can't do any work because they can't use the computers, they can't use the POS systems, they can't get work out because they're either on no power or what we call reduced power, where half of the building's on, but you can't operate anything. So it's extremely frustrating for business owners, because who will compensate them for that? They still have to pay their employees, they still have to meet payroll, they still have to meet their expenses, and at the end of the day, they still have to pay a high power bill, and they're not even getting sufficient service.
Wow.
So it's extremely challenging.
You know, I wonder how, because they give a schedule. I've seen them release a schedule of what they call load shedding and so forth. Is that welcome by, I mean, I know it's not welcome because people don't want to be cut off, but having them notice that at least help, or is that unreliable as well?
Well, you know, what had happened is that we got to the point where, okay, we know that the power is going to get cut off at some time in the day. Even with that schedule that they sent out, I might as well tell you, I found that schedule wasn't accurate or consistent. And so, but I need to mention this since you're talking about business. Let's talk about how it's affected churches. Our church, one Sunday, we had no power for 3 hours. So we had to roll out a generator, run our drop cords and everything, and we still had our service. We were still able to live stream, because we have people watching us, joining our service from as far away as India. But we had to improvise to make sure that we were able to accommodate our people. But we've had Zoom prayer meetings where the power shut off in the middle of the Zoom prayer meeting.
Wow.
All right. But one of the most probably disturbing thing that happened was my wife was a guest on a international show via Zoom. She's talking about Grand Bahama and the island, how beautiful it is. And in the middle of the interview, the power goes off. And this is at 11 a.m. during the day. And so it disrupted that interview. But she was talking about Grand Bahama. And I was able to quickly put some measures in place using Wi-Fi from my cell phone to get her back on, you know, but, and that even, we had a problem after 15 minutes, so she couldn't get back on the show. Wow. So that shows you the major inconveniences. That's just one set of stories, but there are many other stories out there that you can hear about.
So sorry and unfortunate. I want to get your thoughts on the Port Authority announcing to suspend the rate application review. The decision was supposed to be made by December 2nd, but they've now suspended that. Your response to that being suspended?
Well, this is where you see the Grand Bahama Port Authority is now trying to, you know, how I really want to say it, but I'd say cover themselves.
Yeah, because one on the same.
Yeah, so they're trying to cover themselves because honestly, if we really look at it, the Grand Bahama Port Authority is equally to blame just as the Grand Bahama Power Company because they have a regulatory framework where the GBPA is supposed to be monitoring system performance losses. They are supposed to submit those every single month, and then there's another report that they're supposed to submit every quarter. This report shows the available generational capacity, and it shows the state of the generational assets. So it would show a decline if some are going out or about to go out. Because they don't have proper trained experts on this regulatory committee that they didn't want to tell us who was on the committee because it's just their shareholders and some employees with no utility experience, they don't know what to look for to monitor to see if something will happen. So because they failed to do their job in their regulatory framework, they're now trying to appease the public by saying, okay, we're going to suspend it. Why not just say we're not doing it? You know, it's just a way, it's smoke and mirrors, just like their bland statements that they put out that has a lot of words that says absolutely nothing. It's one and the same. It's smoke and mirrors because now they're trying to, after the fact, because they know they didn't do what they're supposed to do and they haven't been doing their job as a regulator. And, you know, it's funny that we talk about that because there's this big fight about regulation now, but the only time we see them in a regulatory capacity is when it's time to increase rates or when it's time to add new fees to us. But a regulator is supposed to protect the consumer first. But the only time we see them in a regulatory capacity is to increase rates or put new fees on us. I was going to ask you
about that, and I thought about it. Do you believe that there is accountability and transparency with the power company, or does that need to be fully addressed?
It is clear to us what Daquan has said, that when it comes to regulation, the regulator is supposed to protect the consumer. That's the purpose of a regulator. We have seen the opposite of that. And because we've seen the opposite of that, it's important to note, since we're talking about blackouts and the load shedding, we have known for 9 years, note what I'm going to say, for 9 years, that the power company could not handle what is known as peak load capacity. If every single customer was to come online and turn on everything, the power company couldn't handle it. So this was a problem that was going to eventually happen, but we knew 9 years ago they couldn't handle it. So with the regulatory framework, you should have been able to realize that not only did they not have the capacity to handle peak load capacity, but their generation output, they should have realized that you come into the summer, you should have a summer plan in place to be able to handle the increased generation. And then on top of that, we had an unusual year with record heat temperatures. All right, so you have air conditioning running, more people buying air conditioners, and they were not ready for it. And it only can be bad management decisions.
Wow, wow. So I start right where I think, I end right where I started, and that is, what now? What next? What is the way forward? And how do we not find ourselves a year from now sitting around the same table talking about the same issues? What do we do?
Well, honestly, I'll tell you, it's going to be a long road ahead for Grand Bahama with this issue. It's no better way to say it, it's no nicer way to say it, because right now we're in a place where supplemental power is making up more than the power than the installed generated power. So that basically means that most of what the electricity that we're generating right now is coming from rented generators. So we're going to see increased power bills because the operational expenses is added in the base rate. So we're going to expect that. And now we're going to expect added fuel costs as well, because it now costs more to run those generators. And then what we're going to see also is we're going to see ERCA, we're going to see the GBPA, we're going to see the GBPC now all attack each other in a legal way. Because one is claiming they're the regulator, the next one is claiming no, we're the regulator, one is intervening. So now we're going to see a nasty legal battle that's going to go on for years, I could assume, because we had a legal battle now that's been going on with them for years. So we're going to probably see a continuation of that, injunctions may be filed. So I could assure you that Grand Bahamians can now expect to see a legal battle between all these entities to decide, firstly, who makes decisions for this company on behalf of Grand Bahamians. And then once that's decided, then we could move forward. But until then, we have to really understand who is regulating the company first, to then now move to what are going to be the real policies and plans that we could put in place to protect Grand Bahamians and not profits.
Wow. Pastor Victor, I'll give you the final part.
Well, to add to what was said, when you look at the regulation and the dispute, the power company, along with the Port Authority, filed a legal action in the Supreme Court to challenge the ERCA as the regulator. So we're going to see this matter come out into the courts, but it's been in the courts for 8 years, right? 8 years, all right? So what you have to now, moving forward, number one, the rate application needs to be completely rejected.
Okay.
That's number two. There needs to be a re-examination of this present company to determine whether we keep Emira with this power company or we get another company. The other thing is that the dispute is within the territory of the city of Freeport. Outside of Freeport, ERCA should be approving the prices. And when we say outside of Freeport, we're talking about West Grand Bahama, East Grand Bahama, Pinders Point, Lewis Yard, Hunters, Mactown, Williamstown, Smith Point, and Maidatown.
So those are outside of the jurisdictions of the port.
Of the port. And those customers, they should be regulated by ERCA. So moving forward, that needs to be established. So let them, they're going to fight over Freeport, but we could set the people free that are outside of Freeport and work on the problem within the city limits of Freeport.
There you go. All there needs to be is regulation. Yeah. Government needs to do what the government does, and we can begin to see relief, even if it's for a portion of the people, until you're able to fully address it. Pastor Eddie Victor, DeQuan Swain, it's always a pleasure having you and talking to us here on The Rundown. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
That's our show for us. Again, just for those of you who wondered, the power company, the client coming on, saying they're busy preparing or doing the work of hurricane preparation mode. That's our show for tonight. Thank you to all our sponsors who have sponsored. On behalf of all of us here at ZNS, I'm Clint Watson. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to join us at 11 o'clock for the Bahamas Tonight at 11 with Royston Jones. He will, of course, have the latest for you regarding the storm and, of course, anything you need to know. For all of us, thanks for joining. Good night. At the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas, I'm Clint Watson, and this is ZNS.
One of the many relationships that we will enter in our lives would be a rental relationship between landlord and tenant. Hopefully you're on the side of the landlord, but you may find yourself being a renter. What are your rights? What should you do? What governs that relationship? What options do you have in the event that things go awry? Well, we're going to provide many answers to those questions and more on this episode of The Legal Brief. And to assist me in this task is noted attorney Alex Malis, partner of Malis and Malis Chambers. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. We always hear the horror stories about renting. People do, however, would say they prefer to own than to rent. But nonetheless, oftentimes we start out renting before we can move into home ownership. And so I just want us to begin very simply in defining who is a tenant, who is a landlord?
A tenant is an individual that occupies a premises that does not belong to them on the expectation that there will be the payment of rent. So that building could be for the purpose of a dwelling house. It could be a commercial arrangement where the building is used to run a business. I have also